Hey, we are live again with another fight night. This time, it's going to be between Zanick and Elijah. Now, it seems like I've already done a very long one today, 3 hours with the rumpus, and I've no idea how long this one's going to last. But these guys have been going head to head on the Discord server and essentially got a bone to pick with each other. So, with that being said, let's check the mic, see if you're all coming through good. Hello, Elijah, and hello, Zanick.
Hello.
Howdy doody.
Good evening, hello.
Good evening. Right, so I assume here we have a globe earther and a flat earther, yeah?
Correct.
Good stuff. So, you guys, as I say, you've been sort of like having this battle on the Discord server, and you want to bring it to YouTube. So, with that being said, what I'll do now is I'll just change the screens over so that you guys can be seen. There we go. You got a Skype page up. So, I'll put myself on mute, and I'll allow you two guys to get in it. So, away you go.
All right. So, Zanick, do you want to attempt to lay a couple of ground rules? I'll propose them, and you can agree or disagree.
That's fine. I think we've gone over this enough in the past. I think we both know each other's positions and stances. We can just kind of bring up the information that you can share, and I'll bring up the information that I have to share, and how we interpret the information, and see if we can. Obviously, we know there's a difference, and we can see if we can maybe convince each other one way or the other, or maybe just at the end of this, agree to disagree.
Sure.
Yeah, it's related to the age-old question in this debate of whether the Earth is flat or round, and we're trying to determine it by doing actual measurements and observations. So we have an observation that we all know about very well, and it's near and dear to everyone's heart in the discussion, Discord, YouTube, etc. People are doing videos, people are talking about it, and it's all about the curve calculator, what we should expect to see and observe when looking out in the distance over a surface that isn't interrupted by some type of topology, i.e. land. So we're looking over water. And so where do we see the horizon? And if we see the horizon drop from our viewing point, from observation point above the surface, that indicates a curve. If we see the objects get obscured by the horizon at a distance that should coincide with the mathematical curve calculator, then we're on a curve. If we don't, then the Earth is flat. And so because of all the other variables, that makes this whole discussion very interesting, such as refraction and our visual acuity and all sorts of other components, the things that are very small to detect. You need very, very sensitive to instruments to actually see these things. Our eyes can play tricks on us. So how do we rule out the tricks and actually figure out what we see in reality, and what does that indicate, round or flat? And I think that's kind of at the core heart of all this, what the debate's all about.
Yeah, I think that was an interesting introduction, and kind of sums up everything that we're trying to find out ourselves on these debates. So well done.
And I think Elijah would agree with me on almost all those points.
So Elijah,
no, anyway.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so what I'm here to talk about today is a specific observation. A lot of times people talk about Lake Pontchartrain and what do you call those, pylons?
Yeah, there's the pylons and there's the bridge.
Yeah, okay, so that's not what we'll be talking about. We'll be attacking this from a different perspective, if you will, no pun intended. So I'm going to share the video link. It's about 2 minutes long. I don't know if we could actually use the footage. I don't know how that works with YouTube rules, et cetera. But just so you know what video we're talking about, I posted it in the chat. Okay,
so let me click that and see whether or not we can bring that up. 1 second. Let's see whose video it is first. Oh, it looks like it's sound. Is it Sounder's video? Yeah, it's Sounder's video. So, is this the observation that you want to discuss?
Yes.
Okay, so let me bring this onto the screen so that everyone can see. Get rid of that. Don't need that. Do you need the volume on it? Do you need the volume on, or do we just need the video?
Yeah, because he explains a couple of things. Like I'm not sure if actually. I mean, he explains where it is in text in the video. So I'm not sure if you need volume because everything is on screen anyways.
Right. Okay. Well, let's see what happens. Right. So I'm sharing my screens with you, so you should be able to hear this. Hopefully, it doesn't buffer too much for the audience. If it does, we'll have to try something different another time. But we'll play it for now and see what happens. So I'll just get to the point where we're. Right. So here we go. I'm going to start at about 10 seconds in. So tell me at any point if you actually want me to stop it at all. So this was taken on December the 12th, 2017. Yeah. Okay, here we go.
I believe so.
I thought we weren't going to talk about the Pontchartrain. Now you want to talk about Pontchartrain?
This is what we're talking about here, yeah.
Pontchartrain, not the oil wells.
No, but if you want to talk about the oil wells, I'm really here to talk about Pontchartrain.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, fine. That's either way.
Okay, so
things to...
well, I'll put the video on and we'll see what happens. Okay.
The atmosphere. The following video and photos were taken from Lakeshore Drive in Mandeville, Louisiana. Our main subject is Lakeway Center. In the foreground, we can see the Lake Pontchartrain Causeway and the cars crossing it. This is what Lakeway Center looks like up close. But because we're 24 miles away, the horizon is obstructing our view. The height of the cars on the causeway is roughly 20 feet above the water.
Okay, you can actually pause it right there.
On the other.
Okay.
Okay, so what I would like to point out is Soundly points out that you can see the causeway and the cars traversing the causeway to and fro the location that he's about to discuss, which is the buildings in the background. And he also notes that the cars on the causeway is about 20 feet above the water. Yeah?
Okay.
So we can continue from there.
Okay.
Hand is 259 feet tall. 3 Lakeway Center is 403 feet tall. 1 Lakeway Center is 193 feet tall, sits between 3 and 2 Lakeway Center, and is completely obstructed by the horizon in this observation. That night, the turbulence really settled down, and the atmosphere became exceptionally clear. This allowed me to take a number of long exposure photographs. This sort of clarity for a 24-mile photograph is very hard to achieve. It takes good timing, good scene conditions, persistence, practice, and a little bit of luck. But it is possible. And just so you can appreciate how good the scene conditions were this night, I'll leave you with this time lapse.
Okay, so that's good.
Okay. Yeah.
So, based on everything that he's discussed in the video, there's a couple of things to point out that wasn't discussed that we know. So his elevation is 6 feet. That's his observer height. So essentially what we're looking over is 24 miles of information. And so the issue is, from Soundly, is that this 100 and change foot building, 1 Lakeway Center, is missing due to earth curve. That's what everyone believes. What I'm saying is, in that small angle of view, actually, it's just the causeway in the way that's blocking that from the angle that you're viewing it from. The causeway is directly in your line of sight at that location. And I've also got some Google Earth images as well to support this claim. So it's not Earth curve, but it's actually just the causeway blocking the building that's causing the obstruction.
Okay, that's interesting. I've never heard that before, but is there a counterclaim to that?
Yes. Zanick's counterclaim is that what we're looking at, the far right, where all of those cars are in the image, is actually only 8 miles from the observer. So I'll let him take it away and let him, argue his own. Zanick?
Yeah, I had to unmute myself. I was clicking on my icon. Where do we start? So let's go right at the heart of this. So the causeway at 24 miles or 20 miles, if it's before that building, the building you can now see with the red lights on top. If that causeway is 20 feet and we're 20 miles away, we can actually figure out the angular size of that causeway. And that angular size, I believe, was 0.011 degrees or something. I can get the numbers if you want, but just look at the concept. We can argue the details and math afterward. And if you actually use basic trigonometry and use that angular size of what shadow that, because that's what we're talking about, what is being blocked by the causeway. Another 4 miles of that causeway, between the causeway and the building, would obscure only another 6 feet. So the shadow of that causeway would be 26 feet, even though the causeway is 20 feet tall. So in no way, shape, form, mathematically, geometrically, trigonometrically, could the causeway ever be hiding 100 foot of that building.
Okay.
26 feet, yes.
So is there a concession that the causeway does in fact run between the observation and the target?
Yes, and the distance between the two is 4 miles, and they're saying that the causeway is 20 miles as the crows fly between the observer and the building itself.
So from his observation point to the bridge is 4 miles.
20 miles.
To the bridge?
Right.
To the bridge is 20 miles, right, okay.
He's where he's zoomed in at, the what's in view of this shot is, I would say, the beginning of the 20-mile mark, farthest from the observer. Actually, 16 miles if he zooms back out a little bit, and you can see that green light. We've discussed this before within the weekend. We were saying that those green lights are those markers for where the bridge goes up to let the boats travel through. And there's an 8-mile mark and a 16-mile mark. And so I suppose that the 16-mile mark was in view. Thus, where the line, where you're viewing the building, that directly crosses
this one here.
Yeah, and it continues all the way to where you can see that light, which, funny enough, is around a 200-foot building with a tennis court on top. So we're actually seeing that light as well, because that's actually literally a tennis court. I could also provide those pictures as well. Actually, let me get that real quick.
Okay, so let's get this right. So we're seeing these car lights on the bridge that's only 20 foot high at a distance of how far?
He's saying is
16 miles?
No, yeah, 16 to 20 miles, yes.
So between 16 and 20 miles from an observation height of 6 feet, we're seeing these car lights cross over the bridge. Forget the building behind.
Exactly.
I see.
And that's not even including our newest thoughts on where the horizon should be. But I won't jump the gun yet.
Okay, so let's just see if we can see anything in the video that can confirm that these actually are car lights as opposed to sort of like some other building lights in the distance. Is that okay? Let's see what happens when we play the video. Oh, they are car lights. Yeah, you do see them moving across the screen. So we're observing cars on a bridge no more than 20 feet above the actual water from a distance of between 16 and 20 miles. Now that's geometrically impossible.
Bingo.
Would you concede that, Zanick?
Not at all.
Okay. Would you? Well, could you
Yes,
explain?
that is geometrically impossible. Absolutely, yes.
Well, tell us how much. Well, so that now this is the point where everyone else on the globe side argued with me that if what I'm saying is correct about where this location on the bridge is, then that would mean that 194 feet of curvature should be missing. And so they're trying to argue that those cars are being refracted up 194 feet. And I don't know how anyone could make that claim.
Okay, so I'm just looking for some kind of detail as to say where he actually took the observation from, but is there any way to confirm that that is a bridge that we're looking over at that distance, yeah?
I got you right now. So I'm going to include where I put his position, because as you can see in the beginning of the video, it says he's in Lakeshore Drive, but actually when I saw him speaking back and forth, he was actually saying he's on a road off to near where the Sunrise Pier is. So I just put him inside the pier to be fair to the Globers. And then from there, I just put angles to where the buildings are on the other side of Lake Pontchartrain, so you'll see exactly how they're oriented.
Okay, let's see if I can bring up Google Earth. Maybe you'd be able to show us on Google Earth. Let's see if we can do this. Because, you know, I mean, I've never looked into this particular observation myself, and I find it an interesting observation because obviously it appears that there's a good portion of the target building that he's trying to observe that is not visible for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But it's in order to try and establish what's the cause of that. I mean, if you've got a bridge running in front of it, I mean, that's an issue for a start. Also seeing the cars is a start, but we'll see anyway. Let's see if we can bring this up. So it's Lake Pontchartrain, yeah?
Yeah. I posted some Google images as well. Google Earth images, yeah.
Okay, so let's just let this load up. So do you think you could direct us to where he's actually taking his observation from?
Yeah, so start with Lakeshore Drive. Okay, Lakeshore Drive. Is that the building? Just keep on zooming in.
Well, this is the side of the bridge. This is the side of the bridge. There's the lakefront. Do we need to go left? Lake Drive?
Keep zooming in.
Keep zooming in. How's that?
Yeah, because that's looking like the buildings he's observing.
Oh, right.
Am I
Okay, so
correct
he's on the
that?
other. So
Yeah.
he's on the other side. Is that right?
Right.
Okay, let's go over to this side then. So he's from this side, yeah?
Yeah.
Do you know where he took the observation from here?
Yeah. Keep on zooming in. It's just going to be slightly to the right of your cursor.
So over here somewhere.
Yeah, where the pier is. You can see the pier if you zoom in. I think it's over to the right still.
Okay.
Yeah, just in that area there.
Sort of here, or here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there it is, right there. Actually, right there where those cars are, and that pier is.
The pier down here.
Yeah. So he's over to the right still where the cars are. That's where I put him because he's more right to that, but I just put him inside that parking lot to be fair.
Okay, so he's around sort of this sort of location, yeah?
Yes.
Right, okay. And what's he trying? Do you know what building he's trying to observe?
He's trying to observe Lakeway 1, 2, and 3 across the causeway.
Lakeway 1, 2, 3. That's not going to bring it up. Lakeway 1, North Causeway. Here we go. That might work. Let's see if that's. Oh, indeed, he does. He does cross over
Yep.
that bridge, doesn't he? So we need to find out
Yep.
where it intersects that bridge. Yeah.
hmm And I would say move it over to the move the angle to the farthest left building in this perspective.
Which farthest left building?
To the left, like you see where that triangle is, kinda. No, more to the right now.
Oh, here. That
Yeah,
triangle.
yeah,
This
right
building
there.
here. Right.
That
Okay.
building right there. Yeah.
So okay. So
Yeah.
I get you. Right. So I'm assuming that you guys have discussed this. Prior. Zanick, you've obviously discussed this with Elijah before, yeah?
Right.
So
So
go ahead.
what we think we're seeing, what I think I'm seeing, and based on some of the markers and some of the backup of the markers, is that we're seeing that the view of those buildings, when it's in the beginning of that video where you see it, the building far to the left of the screen, you're seeing a green light on the right of the screen. If you want to go to the beginning of the video,
Yeah.
and I am seeing that as being the first 8-mile bridge. And we back that up with other pictures showing the other side of the bridge, showing that exact same spot from the shore at the same angular size. So even though it looks like the cars are really far away and 20 miles away, rolling over the bridge, it's really 8 miles away, which really comports with mathematically what we should see.
Well, if what I'm doing now is I'm marking on the bridge where it intersects dead center between those two buildings. So at that distance, it's pretty much dead on 19 miles, I would say. That's sort of like 50-50 between the two. I could probably.
So I was spot on.
So between those two buildings, we're looking, so if we see any cars that are traversing between these two buildings, they're going to be on this stretch of the causeway, around about 19 miles away. So let's just bring that video back up and let's see if we can't. Where are we? Get this on max so that you guys can see this. And I suppose your question here, Elijah, is to this is the area between the two buildings, building 1, building 2. This is the area that's 19 miles away. I suppose your question is, why are we seeing cars on this bridge at 19 miles away from an observation height of just 6 feet? Which I think is a fair. Yeah. There we go. Here we go. We're seeing the cars go over the bridge between the two, and that line of sight, it would take you to 19 miles away. You'd have to agree with that sort of like analysis there, Zanick.
We're going at this a little different angle than I was before, so we're seeing them in the center of view there, looking straight on. Let it play. I'm not sure if you see cars actually at that point.
Yeah, but as a really quick point, what the main point of this video is, before anyone was even arguing, it was one and done, because they were trying to get flat earthers to answer the question of why that 100 and change foot building is missing, and they said it's due to curvature, and I said no, it's just the causeway is in the way. And secondly, why can you see the causeway from that far?
So Randy, go back to where you put your pointer. Can you go back to your pointer where you drew your lines?
Yeah, sure. So let's bring up Google Earth. So there's the intersection between the two.
Go back to where the buildings we're looking at, because there's 3 buildings there, and one of them that's missing is between the two. So I don't know whether you aligned it to the middle one or not.
So there's the 2 buildings, the 2 lines of sight. One Lakeway, which would be that one. Then there'd be this triangle one. It looks like there's another triangle one that should be here.
That's the missing one. Correct.
Yeah, that's the missing one.
It showed the tennis court should be on the right-hand side, so that's what you're seeing. Okay, that's the lights you're seeing just to the our right of the building, the tennis courts. You can see them. So okay, that I agree with.
Tennis courts right there. Lights right there.
Zoom back out. Forget about the Lakeway intersection, but we're looking at the other one.
So another question, Ranty, I had was, why can you see those lights from that tennis court from 24 miles away?
So from the tennis court, let's have a look. See.
Because they're not on the bottom floor. They're elevated.
But you can still see them
Right. You know what floor they're on?
from a 6-foot observer height.
Do you know what floor the tennis courts are on?
Somewhere up above, somewhere up around 200 feet.
How tall is the building?
Well, the one next to it, because that's just a parking garage, I think. That Lakeway Center 3, I think that is actually 400 and change high.
The one that's missing is 400, or the one that's over on
No,
the
no.
right?
Both of the buildings that are missing is a little under 200 feet.
Okay, so you don't know what to. I would suspect to say, especially where the light is appearing there, and that little dip in the horizon line there. I would say that probably is, definitely quite a few floors up. I wouldn't be surprised if it was halfway up that building.
They're both the same height. Yeah, pretty much.
What's the same height?
The two buildings, that the parking garage and the other building that you can't see, Lakeway Center 1, I think it was, or 2, in the middle, those two buildings, that and the park, the one in the middle in the parking garage seem to be the same.
So it explains it. You have a parking garage, and this tennis court is the same height, and you're seeing the light shine up from the tennis courts up, many feet and dispersing a little bit. That's why you see that light that's pretty broad.
So you're saying well, I don't know if you're saying it's refracted or if you're saying it's potentially kind of like a spotlight into the sky, because according to the curve calculator, just focusing on that building and how high it is alone, not even including the horizon and everything, what should be missing is 94 feet. So that's loomed up as well.
No, it's
in the same section that the video states that 200 feet is missing.
You're not listening to me. The light you're seeing, just give the light. That's not your case. You're going to have a weak case if you can go there. The light you're seeing on the tennis court could be seen if it's well below that horizon line. That's not a big. I don't have any problem with that. Neither should you. You wouldn't. Would you think that if suddenly it was below some kind of obstruction, you wouldn't see any light? No, of course not. You see the light illuminating the particulates in the air, which is, moisture, dust, etc. And you see this when you're driving on mountain roads, when you see cars approaching, that you don't actually see the car, but you see the lights light up the entire sky before it gets to you, before you can see the car. So I don't think, just drop that part of it, because that's a silly argument and we shouldn't even go there. Let's just talk about the intersection that Randy's identified here, which is at, where is it again?
So it's 5 miles. It intersects 5 miles from the target that you're trying to see, but it's also 19 miles from the observer.
Show me the intersection.
What's interesting here is that we just need to.
Can you show me the intersection?
Yeah, I've got it up here.
Show me.
This is the bridge.
Yeah.
And where it intersects, where the line of sight intersects, is from this exact point here, which is 19 miles away.
Wait, hold on. I don't see it yet.
Right here.
That's not it. That's not intersecting.
I'm sharing. If you look at my screen on Skype, you'll see it, because I'm sharing screens on Skype.
I'm looking at it. Zoom out a second.
Yeah, so right there, that's at 19 miles away. Right there.
It might be confusing because of all the red lines. But if you focus on the one red line next to the white car right there.
Let's eliminate, since we're all aligned with the white line on the other screen, why don't you eliminate all the lines except for the furthest left line, the very furthest left line.
This one isn't. This line is nothing to do with it. This line's a really old line, so I'll get rid of that.
Well, I saw that being.
That's a line from yonks ago. So if I want to get rid of the two lines of sight, which would be, this is to build in the two tall buildings, left and right there. So I'll take them away. So that's gone and that's gone. So there's that gone. That's the last one.
Can you show me that? Go back and you see where that's going to on the other on the lines up.
You want to see the target
show me
where this
show
was.
Show me where that line intersects the buildings.
Oh, right. Okay. So you want me to extend it to the
I
building?
think he just wants. I think he wants you to turn it around and kind of
Oh, go
like
the other way.
kind of
Right. Okay.
horizontal view it.
Yeah, I can do that.
There.
So here's the observer. So let me just. I know what you're asking now.
No, I know. I just wanted to go see where the building is pointing at, because there's 3 buildings, and that makes
Yeah.
all the difference in the world where
Yeah.
you're.
Sure. No
No,
worries.
there.
Yeah, I'll do
Not
this.
there.
I'll do it now. Trust me. I know exactly what you're after. So I'm going to put the same line in. I'll get the heading, which will be it'll say on this here. So let me scroll through, and then if I go to those intersect these buildings, it should be on that same line of sight. So there we go. There's one lakeway. So if I put that between these 2 buildings here that we can see.
No, go over.
Yeah,
go over.
but don't put it between. Put it like furthest to the right.
Furthest to the right.
but where the building, little more, just to be fair to them. Yeah.
So that's the far end of the far right building, yeah?
Well, you put it in the building, that's fine, but that's anything around there is fine.
Okay, so that's giving you a little bit of extra leeway. So we'll save that, and then we'll see how far away that intersects. The bridge. Let me get rid of that other line because that might be confusing as well. So there's where it hits the bridge. Here's where it hits the bridge, right there. I'll go to the nearest point so it's easier for you guys. So right here is where it intersects the bridge. And what we'll do is we'll do a distance from there to the observer, and we'll find out exactly how far it is to that far right hand side of the building. So to the furthest right, we're looking at about 17.2, 17.25, something like that. 17.29. There we go. Miles. That's the distance. So if we go back to the image, well, it's a video, isn't it? Let's go back to the video. So that would be this area here. Yeah. So all those cars that are traveling there are from 17.3 miles away. So let's have a look, see if we see them on the video. There we go, we see them going across the bridge. Look, from here they come right across from the center, right across in front of that building at 17.3 miles away from an observer height of 6 feet. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, I agree. See, so the devil's in the details here, right?
Indeed. So, do you have an idea? Well, have you an explanation as to why we're seeing those cars go across the bridge at that distance?
Because I still don't believe that they're at that distance.
I've just
well,
worked it out for you.
Let me help you. Let me help you. So what he's saying is, he thinks that based on he wants to look. Let's go back to Google Earth and show him the point where it intersects at 8 miles, because he seems to think that you can still be seeing those buildings and have that 8 mile mark in the same angle.
Okay, let's try it a different way. So as we look in this direction over here, you can see the line of sight, and way off in the distance, far in the distance over there, we've got the buildings. This is the bridge. This is the bridge that goes across the lake. And as you can see, at some point these two are going to intersect before we get to those buildings. So I'll try and hold this line of sight so that you can see. But from his observer point here, way down on the shingles down here for an observer height of 6 feet, we're going to be looking at these buildings over here. So we're heading towards these buildings. Let's pull nearer. Let's go along this line of sight. You can see we're getting close to the bridge now. You can see the distance on the left, you know, this thing here. Just bear with me whilst I try and bring this in. Let's scroll out a tad so you can see a bit better. There you go. So now we're coming towards these buildings.
Now give me stop right there for a second. Now, do you see the problem with this view right here and what you see in reality in the video? Does that raise any questions to mind?
He's not understanding that when you're zooming in, you're not going to be looking at the same angle of view. I mean, you're not going to be looking at the same.
You are
in that frame of view.
Yes, you're still in that frame. Those angles don't change.
The angles don't change, but you're not looking at the same bridge in that frame when you zoom in. You're not looking at 8 miles.
Stop
we
right there,
zoom
right?
beyond.
Right when it intersects, because that's a point that we can all appreciate, I think, because we're all seeing the cars travel. So go up a little farther, Ranty.
Yeah.
Just before the intersection.
There we go.
Stop there. Now, what we're seemingly seeing is cars approach from the point of where it hits land to this intersection where we all agree that it's intersecting via line of sight with that far building. Now, the interesting thing is we know that the distance between the buildings and this intersection point is 8 miles, right? And we know we can also approximate.
No, that's not 8 miles right there.
4 miles. 4 miles, right?
Hey, no, it's 17 miles to that. 17.3 to this point here, right on the bridge.
Oh, 8 miles. Okay. Oh yeah,
17.3.
So 7 miles.
17.
No, 17 to the point, but to the hotels, to the big buildings.
It's another 5.
Yeah.
It's another 5 miles. Yeah.
Another 7.
5 miles.
Oh, 7.
5.
22. Isn't it 24 miles to the buildings?
I think it's. I'm pretty sure it's 5. I mean, let me just confirm
Well,
this.
it doesn't matter. Stay there for a second so we can talk about it. We can do that. That's minutia. That's a very small point of what I'm going to say here.
Okay.
So if you look at the, go back where you can see the buildings, and you're trying to.
Yeah, I'm just for my own reason. Yeah, it might be 7 miles actually. You might be right. Yes, 6.5, 7 miles. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to concede that it isn't 5. It's closer to 7. Yeah. Okay.
So 7 miles. Now we don't see many cars from like the tennis courts. Oh, by the way, you're seeing a tennis court alignment with some of those cars moving, aren't you? Some of the cars are almost look like they're reading. But let's not even go there. I don't have to even go that far to make the point. The point is, if you watch the lights and you time them for when they leave wherever you can see them to some point on this bridge, we can actually calculate by their speed, because you can follow some of the lights without any inconsistencies or interruptions. We can count seconds, and you can see they leave the entire frame in approximately 30 seconds. That means they're covering a distance of not only approximately from the buildings to the intersection point to doubling that in less than 30 seconds, which would be around 15 miles or so.
No. Let me show you something different. Let me take these 3 things off here. I'll just show you how this works perspectively. So the first 2 lines that I put in, line 1, line 2, they were a direct line of sight to these buildings, right? These 2 buildings there, which means that if I put, let me just check this actually, because you might have a point there, because that looks quite a large distance. So
it is a large distance. Just even knowing where the intersection is, even knowing where the intersection point is enough for me at this point.
Yeah,
that's what's up. Because real quick, my point actually is that this part of the bridge, this whole stretch, is what is causing this false horizon. Because this whole causeway is in your way, including the building part that you can't see.
Elijah, I'm going to use some math here, and it's very easy to start calculating things out from what you see. Now you have a picture. You have cars running a certain. It looks like it's going across the screen. I guess I'll get to the point. I contend that the observation point that you're using is not right. Number 1. Number 2, if you count and watch the cars travel horizontally across the screen, they should be coming at you from how the angle is.
They wouldn't be coming out at you. They would be going left to right. It's just perspective.
I mean.
Can I just say the distance from from here to there, along that stretch of bridge, would be 3 miles, which means that those cars, if they travel it in 30 seconds, they would have to be doing close to supersonic speed. So
Exactly.
you do have a point there. I have to concede that.
Yeah, and if you now calculate the green dot on the right, which you have to get to another spot here, you'll see that then this being 8 miles away at the bridge, which would be over to the right, this intersection probably be more like 10. That makes more sense to me. That comports with what we're seeing as far as the speeds of the vehicles. Right now, hold on, Elijah. These cars are going supersonic speeds to get across the bridge in a mile, a little under a mile a second.
Okay, so from my
real quick, we can if you take the video back, he's zooming in as well.
That's fine.
And then the thing about him zooming in is that if you stop it at the point that he doesn't zoom in beyond the green light, that green light is 16 miles up the bridge and about I would say 16 miles up the bridge.
Or it could be so Randy, do me a favor. Go find the bridge that's the 8 mile mark and just zoom out. It's got a telltale geometric shape to it, and you can see it really easily by just zooming out to the bridge around the 8 mile from the observer's point.
But I have an easier explanation for this, and it is pretty easy really. It's clear that the bridge, the cars are nearer and the bridge is nearer. It's clear to me that is the wrong location where he took the observer for. So the only way that you're going to get that is if he was relatively close to the bridge, which would then prospectively put the bridge closer to him. So I know, having done Soundly's work and discussed work with him 2 or 3 years ago, that he has filmed in this location down in this little corner here. Now, I know this for a fact because he's been on live streams, I've been on live streams with him, and he's told us that he has done from this location here. It wouldn't surprise me if this was the location. And if that was the location...
No. That was the location to a separate video. I'm sure that this location is included in this video. It's not that location. He agreed. The video that he is in that location is the one where everyone's focusing on the bridge bending. That's where he is with that location. This is a separate location.
Yeah, Randy, go back. Yeah, it's definitely not there. We have all sorts of videos from Soundly from that location, and that's where his famed show the curvature video has been taken from, and it's absolutely not that spot where he's taking the video. Can you go back to the 8 mile spot just so I can find the pier, the green light? There's 2 green lights.
Sure. Okay, so you want to go 8 miles across the bridge,
and there should be a pier coming out. It's actually a guidance area that goes under the bridge for the other green light. Now, our debate really.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to measure the 8 mile mark. So I'm just going to find where roughly 8 miles is along this bridge. And then that should sort of give us an idea of where we're looking. So yeah, about here, about this basilisk
there
thing.
It is.
There we go.
So I have a picture. So the same picture, I don't know if it's the same day or at night, that shows those little guidance buoys or piers. Those are actually pretty large piers, also about 20 feet high. They go under the the green light guides the mid-center of the opening, so ships can go directly through them. Yep. And if the ships are large enough, that bridge actually has mechanisms to raise itself. But this is what I see, and I have another picture showing that. And that's where I believe the green light is, on where your little handprint is there. That is where the intersection. Now, I guess what you could do is see where you'd have to be observing to see an intersection between, well, actually, no, the green light doesn't intersect there, it's just in the field of view. So that's what I think we see in that video at the beginning when you see the green light. That is the point.
Okay.
That's why the cars are moving at the rate they are, because they're very close, and they are moving about...
I would like to...
about 1 mile every 60 seconds.
Okay, so...
Okay, before you speak, Ranty, I would like to point out around where we first started this conversation and started looking this up on Google. Remember I said I gave him extra angle just for their favor. He wasn't in the pier. He was off to the left somewhere on Lakeshore Drive. That's what it states in the video. He confirmed this himself. So if you were to move the angle that I put him from in the pier to the left, then the angle in the video would make even more sense.
Why don't you go find Lakeshore Drive? And we, like I said, we have these pictures. And everything that's funny about this, Elijah, is that I have the picture. Can I post? I can't post pictures while you guys are we're sharing screens, can I?
Yeah, you can put. You can send them in the chat to the side. But to be honest, I mean, literally, I mean, the line of sight is 8.82 degrees, so the heading should be 8.82 to take you over that thing. And guess what? 8.82 degrees puts you there. So it's right. It's right next to. That's right next to where I said.
What are you saying? If what?
That I think he took it. If you're right and it is the 8 mile mark, then I'm also correct that he took it from this location. We're both.
Let me. Can I have a chance to respond, or are you going to go first?
No, because he's talking to me about this. You're saying that if you're lining it to the 8 mile mark, that's where the observer would be?
Yes, this is the exact line of sight that it would take you to. He would have had to film from here.
The 8 mile.
Then it's not the right angle for the buildings. It's too tight.
That's the right angle. Trust me. I've just marked it out. So let's follow this line. So it'll be this line here. That's the last line that I actually drew, and when it's the long one, and we go across skirting past this this left-hand edge here of the 8 mile mark. Yeah, and then we're gonna wait a minute. Hold on, just a sec, and we're going to carry on right to that right left-hand side of the first building.
Randy, we're not looking. That's not an intersection point. It doesn't intersect at the green light. There's no green light there, so this is a wasted effort.
Right. Okay. So where's this green light?
The green light is far to the right. Only if you go to the beginning of the video, you'll see it briefly far to the right, maybe at a 45-degree angle from the observer.
But this is why I'm trying to explain to you, Ranty, that I understand that he's taking observations from that point, but that's from all of the videos where he's actually looking down the bridge to make it curve.
Yeah, that's fine.
In this scenario, he's further to the left, way further than even the pier. Yeah, but you've chosen to move it to the right. So let's just type in Lakeshore Drive and see where it is, Louisiana.
Can we let Randy see the green light? And also, if you're going to do it from my perspective, since we all know the bridge is intersecting that smaller, that obscured building, find the point where that obscured building is at. I don't know.
Yeah, the point is this is all pretty mute really, because that part of the bridge is higher than other parts of the bridge. Yeah, where it allows the cars to go over, doesn't it?
No, it's all the same level, and they have certain points.
Okay, so what height is the bridge above the actual water? Do you know?
They're all 20 feet.
20 feet to the bottom. So essentially, that's 60 feet on a direct plane in a line of sight. That would obscure 60 feet.
Why do you say 60 feet?
Okay, so his observer height was 6 feet. This is 20 feet at 8 miles, and that's 24 miles away. So hang on, let me work that. 14, 30. It's 42 feet. So it would obscure 42 feet of the building to this.
Why would it obscure 42 feet?
Because if this is 20 foot and it's only 8 miles away, and he's at 6 feet, so it's essentially 14 feet higher than him. Yeah. By the time that you get, because of the inverse square law, by the time you actually get to this part over here, it will actually be obscuring how many floors? Probably close to 5 or 6 floors. This bridge?
We don't know that part right there, how far that is away. That's not 8 miles away.
Let's see if I can just bring.
No, Randy,
that's why. Yeah, that's more like 17. Randy, what you guys had first time.
It's got to be around 12 to 15 miles, or probably 12 to 14 miles right there. In fact, I'm sorry, it is about 16 miles right there.
So now it's
18 miles.
So we have a landmark.
Okay.
The landmark I have is the second green light. We think we see a bridge on the left side of the smaller building.
Right. So now it's not 8 miles. Now it's 16 miles away. Okay.
Now nothing. I've been very consistent. You're just not hearing me. So we have several. We're trying to align the markers. We have a green light on the right-hand side that's 8 miles away. It's not crossing anything. Just in our field of view. Go to the beginning of the video. We can see that, so you can know what we're talking about. There's another green light that
in the video.
In the video. First part of the video.
Right. So where we're looking for a green light, did you say?
Before you start seeing stuff move, it's
a little further
little more.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the full screen to
let it play.
activate.
Just to let you know, we think the second green light was right where that pointer is almost now. It's a little more to the left would be the 16. Where I'm saying those 16 miles.
There.
Where?
Here?
Yeah, right down. Your pointer, or is that the guy in the video doing this?
This
No,
here.
that's the video pointer. He means
pointer,
the
go
building
to
to the right. Yeah, over there.
No, go left. Is that your little pointer arrow marker?
This is my
Yeah,
pointer
you see that
here.
little green light,
Yeah,
Zanick?
go to the building. Go to the building. The building has been shortened. A little more left, and now it's gone.
Let me pause it. So this one over here.
No, that's the tennis court.
No,
This one.
No, that's a car.
Right
Go
there.
left.
the smallest building in the shot. Yeah, that building there.
There. Now stop. Now just go more left. More left. More left. More left. More left. Stop. There we think there is another bridge there. That right there. Exactly there. Is someone said that they saw enough movement or change of the lights for that to be the 16-mile bridge. That would be the 16-mile bridge.
I don't think so. And I'll tell you why, because I see cars coming through this part here and straight across in a straight line. I don't see them going over a bridge.
You can see the cars when you play, if you really see cars in that section.
Yeah, so let's go to the nighttime part where we can see it a bit clearer. Here we go. So you can definitely see the cars going in front of that, from the left over the right. So that can't be the bridge. That's one complete section of.
No, they disappear for a little bit and then they come out.
No, that
like
car's just come from there.
Yeah, they appear. That's where I think the bridge is.
No, but if you look in the middle of even the tallest building, you can kind of see cars moving in that line.
It doesn't really matter. We know it's out there somewhere. The point is that we have pictures and the green light on the right hand side, and that's what we're saying. If you find that green light, then you can see like an angle. Maybe we can do some measurements that way. Because we can do it both ways. And if it is the 60-mile point, that would not represent how cars could travel from the building to the green light, which would have to be the 16-mile. Because there's only two green lights, Randy. Only two. It has to be either where the arrow is. Hold on. It has to be either where the arrow is or on the right-hand side just before it goes out of the screen. And if it is the 60-mile, there's no way that cars can travel in 30 seconds 10 miles.
Yeah, exactly.
But see, that's where I hang on.
Let me just.
I haven't told you why I disagree, because this is the crux of me and Zanick's argument, and you're agreeing with him without understanding why I'm saying no.
I'm saying this is a 16-mile. If this is the 16-mile part here, then
no, it's not.
If it was, I know
it's not.
I know it's not.
Elijah, come on.
Yeah, I know it's not, and this is why I'm going to get to that point. If this was the 16-mile part, to get from this part of the building here to this part of the building is about a mile across that bridge. Now, that would take a car traveling at 30 miles an hour 2 minutes. So from that car entering the start of the building here to get to that point there, it would take near enough 2 minutes for that car to go in front of that direct line of sight. And we don't see that. It travels it in around about 8 seconds. So there's no way that can be the 16-mile mark. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the 16-mile mark is much further to the right, and you can see the green. And I'm proposing that the green light furthest to the right. No, it's not. No, it's. Be quiet, Zedek. It's my turn. Thank you. Because I didn't interrupt you. You're the one interrupting, and it's causing this.
No.
I was being very cordial. So let me have my disagreement. Thank you. So the green light he's too zoomed in right now, but if you go as far back as you can where he starts to zoom in, if you look far to the right, there's a little green light in that shot. So if you can see the little green light in that shot, it's where the cars begin to exit your field of view. That's where I'm saying the 16-mile mark is beginning. And the point that you're seeing Lakeway Center 1, Lakeway Center 1, where you see that building, I say that's more like 20 miles. 17 miles, 20 miles, but I think 20 miles.
You can think all you want, but we've already done the easy math on that, and that makes
it worse. Right. If we do that, no, it makes it it makes it correct.
No, it doesn't.
Because you have more bridge to travel. You're trying to push it to where there's only
farther in the 30 seconds. Exactly.
So can we do that? Is that correct?
Hold on. He's already pointed out that that section is about a mile long. If you say that's even further away, that section could be 2 miles long.
No, that makes it shorter if you increase the distance. You're pushing.
We're talking about.
You're pushing the distance. You're pushing the distance from the observer to where you're looking at the cars. You're pushing it further. That's giving you a smaller time span, and that's why the math isn't working. You're thinking backwards.
Okay, the building that matched up with the road. Yes, you're right. That would be, yes, if it was farther away, that would be shorter. Correct. But how much shorter? Half as short?
I just told you 20 miles away from the observer, and what?
16? 25%. That's a 25% change.
Stop through me.
It's a 25% change. It's not going to. It's doing it. It's doing it in 5 seconds. It can't travel that much distance in 5 seconds.
I don't know how to speak through Zanick, so I don't know.
Okay, so let me put a polygon in here, so we'll get through the center of this thing here. So let's pop that up. We'll put 4 corners on, so that you can see it from the other side. So we're going to take it off clamps from the ground. We're going to extend it as high as we can. Blah blah blah. Right. So that is the 16-mile marker. Right. So I've put a really tall column there so that you can see it very well when we go back to the start of the observation. Now, to get that angle, like I said, he has to be at the side of this bridge right at the start. There's no other way about it. It has to be there.
But according to the video, it's not.
Yeah, that's to the 8 mile. That would be to the 16 mile. So if he was at the 16 mile, he's going to be around about here, I would imagine. So let's just check that out. Let's get a heading for that building, and that should skirt that. And if it doesn't, we'll just maneuver it to a point where it does. Actually, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll do it the other way around. I'll do it back to front. I'll start from the left-hand side of this building, and we'll traverse over that 16 mile thing that I've just put in, and we'll get the heading of it. We'll get its heading. There it is. So we can see it. And what we're going to do is, if you say it's this that we go over, where do you want me to go through? The center of it, or do you want me to go to the left of it? Would you like me to go to this point here?
Elijah or me? Is this the 16-mile spot?
This is the 16-mile spot, Zanick.
Yeah, this is for you.
So
that's for you.
This is just for you.
No, I said it's 20 miles, so 16 is for you, Zanick.
What's 20 miles?
You disagree with that, so we're going with what you said, Zanick. I gave you the mic.
So if
you said the green light, is that this is the 60-mile mark. There's only one.
It's not hard. What he's doing right now, I'm saying we should be doing at 20 miles.
Why?
So we're doing what we're doing because obviously you disagree. So we're talking about what you're saying.
It's got to be 60 miles or
from the observer.
16 or 8 choices.
Right. Okay.
Again, Renty, I can't speak through him.
Okay, so this is the degree that we're heading. The heading is 8.96 degrees. So that skirts the 16-mile position there. So we'll pop that in there, and then we'll line up to the other bridge, and we'll measure the distance. The other building, and we'll measure the distance and see if it is that 16-mile part. Okay, that seems fair enough.
Very fair.
And we'll see if those cars could travel, 7 seconds or so from... they can travel up to 60 miles an hour though, can't they? Across that part, apparently. So there's to the other side of the building. Let's put them in there. Right, so we can take all these other lines off so we don't get confused. And then we'll go and we'll take them off as well. Don't need them too. Right, so we're just left with two red lines now, and we're going to see what the distance is when they cross the bridge, and see how far it is between the lines of sight. I mean, it could be anywhere along this stretch if it was the 16-mile part. Can you see how to get to that building on the right, you literally are going to be intersecting way here. You're going to be intersecting at this point. The center of it would be, let's get to the center of this 2 lines of sight. So there's the center. So there's the center. So it will be there, and we'll measure that to the observation point, and we'll see how far along the bridge it is. Now that would be around about 10 miles, 10.3 miles.
I just said 10 miles, maybe too far off.
Well, there you go. So that's if it is that we're looking at.
So it can't be that because we're traveling that distance in 30
yeah,
seconds.
it can't be that because the whole bridge itself is 20 miles.
That's why it's an impossible viewing. You know,
Yeah, that's why what you're saying is impossible. That's what I'm trying to point out to Ranty. Ranty, why don't you do me a favor and just type in Lakeshore Drive to get a perspective of where that is exactly?
No, you can't.
Because I'm telling you, hold on, Zanick.
Let me just finish.
I'm telling you.
Let me just finish my measurement. Let me just finish my measurement. So to see to the right hand side of the how's that, guys? Can you right? You should be able to hear us now. So right, okay, that's good. Back on.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, yep. Can see your screen. Do you want to share your screen for a point?
I did. Oh. I put share screen and nothing happened.
Yeah, I can see you sharing. Yeah, you are sharing now. So if you just minimize that box, yeah, that's the one, and then we can see. There we go. Sound is Skeptrox. There,
Okay,
you see that, yeah.
So I took one of the pictures from the daylight version of what we think this is viewed from, and I basically cropped it to show where that green light was in the same proportions as the nighttime shot. And the green light is where the humps are. That's the bridge where you have the piers on both sides. Okay?
Yep.
So I propose and contend that this is where you see the cars traveling left to right. And they go all the way over to the large building. Of course, I didn't get it perfect. He did an aerial shot where he had a drone go up and down, and I just grabbed a screen off of that. Now it could be a little too low to see as much as we need to see of the road to the left, but at least gives you the proportions of the building on the left and the bridges on the right, and that's what you'll see when you see the 8-mile bridge on the first part of the video.
Okay, so. Can I just ask? Is this a time lapse video? Somebody's asking in the chat.
I don't know if they've actually sped or slowed down the video.
Okay. So you think it might be us seeing the raising and lowering of the cars as they travel across that bridge, that part of the bridge?
And by the way, this kind of gives you an angle that looks far different than what you.
No, that's not what he's saying.
I'm sorry. What'd you say, Ranty?
I'm saying you think we're watching the cars go over the bridge?
What he's saying is that where you see that little hump. Hold on. Where you see that? Hold on. I'm
talk over him.
Hang on, just one at a time, guys, if you can.
Can I get something clear, Ranty?
Just let Ranty ask the question.
Yeah, one at a time, guys, please. So, who's presenting now? So, it's you, isn't it, Zanick? So, yeah, go ahead, Zanick.
So you had a question. He was interrupting you, but
right, that hump on the bridge, the hump on the bridge that we're seeing right there in your image. You think that's what we're seeing the cars on? Yeah.
Yes, that is. Well, no, that's not. You're seeing part of the cars, which is to the left of it. That right there, that bridge is the green light. I wish you would find the green light, because then you'll know what we're talking about. You can kind of scale it down in your own mind where this is.
The bridge is 8 miles from the observer.
Stop it. You can't get the points clear if we're talking over each other. So if there's a green light on that, there is a green light on that bridge. We see it to the right. Now, if that is the 8 Mile bridge, then I'm correct, and this is why we see what we see. If it is the 16 mile mark, it'll have the same green light because it's farther up, another 10 miles or 8 miles. But that would be well up and would intersect the small building. I have another picture for you, too, to show you why that is true, because I have the hump in the distance that intersects the smaller building. Wouldn't that be interesting to see? Hold on a second. Are you still there?
I am, yeah. Problem is my Google Earth has crashed now, so there's no way I can bring it back up.
How do I get this onto the chat? What the heck?
I'm gonna get an image myself to illustrate what I'm saying he's talking about.
Hold on. So, you there, Andy? Here we go.
Okay, yeah, we see that.
We see that. Okay, now that's the far away picture. Now, this is what I think we're seeing. You see the green light on the two bridges on the right-hand side, and then the other humps are right close to the, for the oncoming traffic, they'd be exactly in line with the...
You're not presenting.
What?
You're not presenting for some reason. I think you've knocked screen share off.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better, yeah. So, yeah, take that off. There we go,
So
right.
Now, how I see it is that we have the 8 Mile bridges on the right, which is the green light, and we'll eventually find that, hopefully. We should have started with that. And then we see the little humps way in the distance, which are, coincidentally enough, aligned up exactly. The oncoming traffic bridge is lined up exactly with the shorter building, when it's been obscured the most, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that angle, if this is the observation point, which we think it is, that is why we are seeing the buildings cut off, because they're so far away. And we're not seeing traffic way out there. We're seeing the traffic far closer. We're seeing the traffic from the bridges slightly to the left, which is 8 miles to 10 miles. And then we don't see any more traffic anymore.
Okay. The one thing that somebody's pointed out quite obviously in the chat is that if this is a time lapse of those cars traveling across the bridge, the speed of the cars is irrelevant.
Correct.
Yeah.
I agree.
So what we need more than anything is absolute clarity from...
No, that's not a time lapse. When he's zooming in, it's not a time lapse, so that's not the issue. Can I eventually, at some point, illustrate the issue?
Yeah, but Elijah, if you're correct, you're correct, Elijah. It would be better for you if it was a time lapse, and I'll tell you for why. Because the line of sight that I put in and was able to show that those cars could not have travelled that distance at 18 miles away. However, if it was a time lapse, then it certainly could. And if Soundly's giving you the exact spot, if Soundly's giving
no, that's not. So this is why I asked you in Google Earth if you could pull up Lakeshore Drive, because you totally disregarded what I was saying to you.
Okay.
The angle is not smaller. The angle is larger. It's smaller because I gave him that.
All right. And the last thing you can do is, well, we can do this later. I don't want to muddle the waters, but look at this picture, and you should be able to simulate this angle of the road in front of you, which is crossing at a pretty substantial angle, right? Randy, you can agree if you're looking at that? Even though there's some optical effects of perspective, it still looks like it's crossing at a fairly, acute angle, right?
Okay.
And I think if you do that, you realize that the position of the observer is not as far right as you might think, because you wouldn't be able to see the things we're seeing. The bridges would not be staggered because they're perfectly in line. A lot of math we can do here to really figure where things are. And the telltales are the bridges in the background are the oncoming traffic bridge is exactly obscuring the base of the smaller building. That right there is a telltale sign. You can do a lot of math just from that point alone.
Okay, so I've brought up Lakeshore Drive. I've got it for the audience to see. I'm not going to share my screen in case it crashes again, but you'll probably get a chance to see it on the upload if you're watching that. But I brought up Lakeshore Drive, and it literally goes around the whole. It goes around everywhere. It goes from this section here all the way around right to the bridge, essentially. So, what is it you wanted me to find on Lakeshore Drive?
He's a block off of Sunrise Pier, so he has to be in that area. He can't be where you're saying he is. That angle is impossible.
Okay. That would make sense if it was a time lapse. Absolutely. It would make sense if it was a time lapse.
Now, let me introduce this. So there's an 8 and 16 mile mark. The 16-mile mark is not where we're seeing the cars cross in front of the buildings. It's the farthest cars to the right. That is the 16-mile mark. That's why the green light is significant, because as he showed that first hump, that is the 8-mile hump. The next hump is 16 miles away, which is about I would say 18. Well, that would actually make the distance even further.
8 miles. 8 miles to the first.
But that's what he's saying, that we're seeing the bridge from 8 miles from the observer. That's not possible.
It is, because
not from the angle that I'm talking about. You have to put him right next to the bridge in order for that to work.
Exactly what the observer showed. I did it before.
But now we're just getting off of what I'm saying is possible for you to reiterate your point.
Okay.
And what I'm saying is, if the green light is at the 16-mile mark, then the cars that we're seeing intersect that building is closer to the 20-mile mark, because it's not that much bridge to the building after that.
It's all to do with the parallax, you're correct. And to be fair, I'm trying to be impartial with this here, and that is that, yes, if it's nearer to the bridge where he took his observation, then it's more likely to be around about 8 miles. If it's further away, Elijah, from where you originally told us that Soundly specifically told you he took the observation, then it will be at 18 miles. So essentially, we need more information. We need from Soundly probably some kind of GPS location for where he took the observation, or for him to confirm it, and secondly to find out whether or not the observation's been done in a time-lapse mode, or whether it's actually a video.
Well, the video is time-lapsed. I'm just saying there's different...
Right, well, that's great.
Yes, what I was pointing out was there's different points of the video. Also, the reason that the cars appear to be moving fast is because he's zooming in. So not only is the time lapse at the end of the video, but the point in which the cars are moving fast is because he's still zooming in. Right, I said that.
Okay, well, zooming in won't affect the speed of the car.
Listen,
but when you're zooming in, you're decreasing the angle of view, and so that would increase the. No.
The only thing that would affect that is the speed, is whether or not it was a time lapse. The only way it could travel those distances is if it was a time lapse. Zooming in won't make it speed up, that's for sure.
So Ranty, look at my crop picture again.
Yeah.
Just so we have a clear picture. So if you can find that frame, and I'll click on the video myself and give you a timestamp if I have to.
I've got it ready to show. I've got it on screen right now.
Actually, I contest that, Ranty, because hold on, as you're zooming in from that angle, you're zooming into a further part of the bridge from the observer. So so as you're zooming in, the cars are coming against that angle of view. So the more you zoom in, it's going to appear that the cars are moving faster, but they're really not.
No, you're just talking gibberish now. That's not how it works. So, Randy, look at the bridge. We're going to look at your picture real quick. The green light, I contest to say, or propose to say, that it is on the first bridge, which is 8 miles away. I've cropped it exactly to what the video will show at night. And then you can see that makes sense, because it does comport with what you see at night. And the two little bridges, way in the distance, that are big humps, one is touching and obscuring the smaller building, that is the 16-mile bridge. And this is actually what we're kind of seeing. We're seeing the traffic along this nearer section, which makes sense, especially if we're not time-lapsed.
Okay, well, if anybody's listening, if anybody knows Soundly to try and resolve this, if you could ask him to get in touch with me, I'd like to sort of like try and find out exactly where he took this observation from, and maybe get us a GPS, etc. But in either case, I have to say, Zanick, if it's nearer the bridge, that puts the bridge nearer to you, and it gives you a higher obstruction of the buildings in the distance. So it's a kind of a mute. It's kind of a mute argument, really.
No, it's really not. So here, now click on screen share again, so I can just make the last point here.
Yeah, one. You need to screen share again. Yeah, click screen share.
Okay, every time. Here it is. Okay, there we go. Now this is what I'm looking for you to find on the video, and this will sew it all up from my perspective. I have no other information but this last point. See the green light? in the far right?
I do, yeah.
Okay, so that would match the picture I cropped from an aerial view and got down to the right, close to the right elevation, which is approximate where he'd have to be to see this. Of course,
Oh, hang on, wait a minute. Is that the spire on the bridge on the far right above his watermark?
No, that's before. That's another antenna system.
Ah, so if we can find that, that'll be the last antenna system on the bridge, right?
No, this is the bridge is. The green light is the center of the bridge. That's why you see a green light there, and that's why.
See, I don't know about that. That's what I'm saying, Brandy.
Let me finish real quick. So we have two choices here. This is really simple. Either that bridge is at 8 miles from the observer or 16 miles from the observer. Now here's the thing. Look at the angles. Look at the distance from the green light, and look where it is in the position.
Yep.
All the way to the buildings. So if this is 16 miles. You can now say that the distance between that bridge and the center of that big building, or even the little building, is roughly 4 to 6 miles, right?
No, it's the other way around. If that green dot is the center of the bridge, then it would be further away. The buildings on the left would be further away. So the intersect of the bridge would be around about 18 miles. In which case, that would be Elijah's point.
No.
Yes. Thank you.
You missed it. I'll do it one more time. Don't get too excited, Elijah, because you missed it completely. If that is the 16-mile mark, the green dot, that's what Elijah's saying that is. How far is the 16-mile mark to the buildings, Ranty?
Is it 8 miles?
20. Yes. Because
the simple number. Come on.
I'm telling you, because the distance, the number is coming next. Shut the fuck up. The distance is from you to those buildings is 24 miles.
Okay.
Complete.
Let me talk
if
you're talking gibberish again.
No, I'm not talking gibberish.
It's a simple question.
Ranty, don't interrupt me when I'm talking, because I'm not gibberish.
Okay, let's do this way. So let's just hear Elijah first, and then because you've got the image on screen.
I gave you a very
keep stopping at this point. I don't care what you have to say, Zanick. Let me finish.
Talking to Ranty.
Okay. Listen, I have to try and move this forward. So go on, Zanick. Go on, answer.
Try to talk about this, Ranty. He starts talking to you, and then him start talking about this is. I would like to have to say.
Okay, Elijah, I promise you I'll give you a good minute or so. Just let him make his point, and then I promise you'll be on straight away. Yep.
Either green light is at 8 miles or it's at 16. If it's at 16, that means the green light to the building is what? About 8 miles, 7 miles, 6 miles? If that green light is what Elijah says it is, it's at 16 miles. There's only 2 of those green lights in the entire bridge span. How far would that be? Ranty, is he still there?
I'm still here, yeah.
Okay. How far is the green light to one of those 2 buildings if that green light is 16 miles away from the observer?
How far? If the green light is 16 miles away, how far is it from the observer? It's 16 miles away.
No. How? I'll say it again. The same way. And I'm not going to mince words or change my structure. If the green light is 16 miles away from the observer, how far are the buildings away from the green light?
8 miles.
Right. So you're saying, so you see the lights, and they're moving in 30 seconds to the green light. They can't do 8 miles in 30 seconds. And what would the?
They're not doing that in 8 seconds. That's what I was trying to point out to you guys. Because you can see the. Hold on. I
didn't think 8 seconds.
They can if it's a time lapse.
8 miles. No, listen to what I'm trying to say now.
If it's time lapse, they can.
No, that's not what's happening though, Ranty. Can I talk? The bridge doesn't start where you see Lakeway Center 1, right? The bridge starts where you see that tennis court, because that's where the angle of the bridge is going, because the bridge to you is on the left of the buildings. And in this shot, the end of the bridge is to the left of all the buildings you can see. And so that would be where the 24-mile mark from the observer would be.
Agreed. No argument there at all.
Okay, so how the hell can you only be 8 miles away from Lakeway 1? That's not 8 miles away. That's far closer. Meaning, if you're traveling from that big building that you can see all the way to the left, all the way to the green light, that increases the time you need to go from point A to point B, which makes it make sense.
In your world, maybe, not in mine or Ranty's, because we both understand that that green light to the tennis court is going to be 8 miles, and we can see half of it where we see movement of the lights. That is can be say it's 4 miles.
No.
You can't go 4 miles in 30 seconds.
Yeah, I agree. 8 miles from that light to those tennis courts.
Yeah. So half of it would be 4 miles.
Yeah, but all of those cars aren't traveling 30 seconds. That's what I'm telling you.
You watch a car at the building go exactly in 30 seconds to hit the green light. Follow one of those lights very clearly, and it'll be 30 seconds.
All the way to the right? From the building all the way to from the building all the way to the left. Lakeway Center 3.
Even if you divide it by 2 and find some spot in between, which would be these are the bridge.
Count seconds from
Elijah.
Elijah,
Elijah, you're not listening. Even if
I don't need to. I'm telling you something.
You need to listen. This is your problem. You don't listen. You just talk.
From Lakeway Center 3 all the way to the green light, that is not 30 seconds.
It is not from the tennis court, but halfway. Say it's 4 miles. You can't do 4 miles in 30 seconds. You got to go going 200 miles an hour.
But not to the tennis courts, because guess where the tennis courts are? The bridge is where the tennis courts are. That's where the bridge is.
Almighty, seriously, Ranty.
Can you pull up the tennis courts and see how far away the cars exit off of the bridge from the tennis courts? Can we do that?
8 miles to the bridge. We already agree. We all agree this.
Okay, so
are you considering the angle or something, or something's not wrong with you on this? You're not thinking clearly.
I'm saying we have to buy something.
Hey, hold on.
I'm telling you that they're not doing it in 30 seconds, and you're saying no, but they're doing it from halfway. Well, yeah, if you do it like that, you fucking cut the time in half.
Correct. And you can't do 4 miles in 30 seconds either. And it's not 30 seconds, it's like 10 seconds. It's very, very quick. This is much closer than you think it is, my net analysis. The angles match up to what I'm saying. What you're saying does not make sense in any way, shape, or form. There's a bridge out there somewhere near that smaller, shorter building, which is a 16-mile bridge. And I'm standing by that because you can see how close. Let me give you another picture that can show you the same bridge from a different perspective, different angle. That might help you understand it too. Let me close this real quick and get you another bridge from the side view, also from Soundlink.
He's telling you that because what I'm saying doesn't make sense, that green light that we're looking at actually is 8 miles from the observer. That's what he's trying to tell you.
I'm not trying. I am telling you that.
Exactly. Thank you. I'm glad that I caught him. How the fuck can that green light be at 8 miles from the observer? That zoomed in. How?
Here's what we're seeing here. There's the other side of the bridge. There's the red light, because it's red on one side and green on the other. That's how marine vessels navigate through objects like this. So we're seeing the red light now on the other side. But he's very close because he's right along the bridge. Looking right to that.
I don't know where he's at on that part of the bridge. I don't know where he is. I don't know what his elevation is. It could be 1 feet for all I know.
You got the map. It's aligning. In fact, say, hey, this is a good one.
I said I don't know what his elevation is. I can tell where he is. He's on the other side of the bridge. We don't know his elevation.
We don't need to. We see the light.
We see to know his elevation. What do you mean?
We make a line. 2 points make a line. This is great about geometry. 2 points make a line. We have the building. We have the light. There's a line from the building to the light to us, the viewer.
You know what's missing? The elevation height of the observer.
It doesn't matter. We know we're lower than the bridge.
We were talking about my example, but it doesn't matter now that we've switched the image.
We're somewhere between 10 and 20 feet. Would you give me that?
I don't know. I didn't take this video. Where'd you get that information from?
Things that don't matter, Elijah. That's why it's so hard to talk to you about things.
Because I want to know. You know why I know all of my information about the video that I gave? Because I actually spoke to Soundly, you, and other people to know the things that I know. You're just guessing.
No.
About what you're looking
basic math. You cannot do trigonometry in your head, and you're not
about. How to Granty, look at what he's showing you. Put that video aside from the angular size of the zoomed in picture. You're going to tell me that that's the same. He's saying it's the same angular size. No, it's not.
Look, did you see the green light on the picture? Did you see the bridges I have here? These are perfectly in proportion. You had a hard time understanding that I couldn't zoom in on this aerial picture and get the bridges to the right and the buildings to the left in the same kind of relative area and represent exactly what we see at night to show that that is the 8-mile bridge.
You can't zoom.
You said
you
can't. You said you can't zoom in. You said it doesn't work, and it does work because you don't understand how Zoom works.
You cannot zoom in to the buildings and see that part of the bridge. If you were to zoom in from that still right there, the bridge would be out of view.
I am zoomed in, and that's exactly what we see in the reality.
No, because if you look at the lights on the bridge in the dark in the video that I posted, everything is compressed into one small line. It doesn't look anything like that image. It's not the same distance.
Here we go again. Here we go again. Here's the picture at night. After I just posted the picture, I should have them side by side to show you. I don't know if I have one of those. But here we go.
Same exact angle.
Here we go. This angle is, I think this represents the same angle he has the aerial, because he went to the same place and did his drone footage. So here we go. Here's the night footage. We see the green light. We see the buildings. They're both on the opposite sides of the picture, just like when I zoomed in. You couldn't do that angularly if it wasn't the way it is. You couldn't do that. You can't do that at 16 miles. If that green light's 16 miles, this wouldn't work out. And with that, I rest my case.
So is there anything else that you guys want to actually get into? Because without actually having the GPS location of where he actually took this from, it's really difficult to...
Video. I'm telling you, in the beginning, he tells you the location. It's in this video.
The telltale indication here, Randy, is you just have to look at the angles. We have the angles. They're all right there. We have other alignments of certain objects in the distance, and we can see these things. And we can verify whether they are or they aren't. And you did a great job with the lines from the observer to the buildings. That was awesome. You saw where the intersection had to be based on that observer point. Well, obviously, that's not...
And you're saying that observer point is at 8 miles from the observer.
The observer point is not at 8 miles. The observer is somewhere on that shoreline such that he can see the green light on the right side at 8 miles and the building on the left side at 24 miles. That's what I contend. And that's what the evidence is showing.
Exactly what I just said. Basically, you said no and then said exactly what I just said.
You said the observer is at 8 miles. The observer is not at 8 miles. The
observer is 8 miles from where you say you can see the bridge, because that point that you're talking about, you're looking at, is 8 miles from the observer.
And you know what? One telltale sign for that as well, as being a mariner myself, that green light, that I don't care if you zoom in, you can't see a green light that clearly unless that's 8 miles. 16 miles, that wouldn't look like that. That would have more refraction, more distortion. It'd be blurrier. It wouldn't be so tight. 8 miles is what you see when you see lights like this.
So let me get to the point of this.
That's just my guess, because I'm just experiencing seeing things visually. But I always got my light on that. But that's kind of what you see.
I thought you were finished. Can I go now? So my last point is this: the observer is 6 feet high, right? These cars are at least 20 miles away. I mean, as a matter of fact, we can see them traveling the whole stretch of the bridge, damn near. Why do we see them when at 6 feet? When at 6 feet? Okay, when at 6 feet, the curvature of Earth should be hiding. The horizon should be 3 miles away, but we're seeing everything we're seeing.
You know, the other thing, here's the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is that the elephant in the room is that the buildings are missing 200 feet.
Okay, that's not the horizon.
The buildings are missing 200 feet. Did we forget that?
Okay, hang on. Okay, just a minute, guys. Listen, I have to make an apology to Elijah because at the start of the video, you're correct. He does actually put the exact GPS location in, calls it unnamed road, and he does actually put it in the exact place that you told me to put that marker from. And you can see it. I've got it on screen right now. That's the exact same spot where you told me to first put the line of sight in from. This is from Soundly's own video. And on that basis alone, it has to intersect the bridge at around about 18 to 19 miles away. It has to. And which would mean that then that those cars going across the bridge are on a time lapse. And that's why they appear to just be crossing in front of those buildings at such speed. So if it's in the video and this is his GPS and he's got it on screen with a marker showing exactly where he took this observation from, then there's no doubt in my mind that that has to be 18 to 19 miles away, and we are seeing those cars intersect those buildings at that distance. There's no doubt about it.
You're missing one major.
The horizon should be 3 miles from him, but we're seeing at least 18 miles, which means the horizon in this shot should be further than 18 miles.
Ranty.
That's huge.
Ranty. So you see the picture here that I've shown you?
Just a minute, I'm just going to respond to somebody in chat who says, this is not the location, it's just Google Maps showing up here. No, this is from his video at 14 seconds into his video.
It doesn't matter what he says. What we see. You can measure it.
Let's see your screen. Go ahead.
So you're saying that our line of sight to that smaller building intersects it at 18 miles?
I'm saying, yeah, from the information that he's provided, it would have to.
Now stay with me, okay, Randy? Tight.
Yep.
We're holding hands now, right? You and I are one.
Yep.
You're looking at the smaller building. By the way, 200 feet of that building is missing, right? So the line of sight to that building is exactly the middle, exactly in the middle of that building. That's 16 miles. I said it twice already. Now, look over to the right and see the green dot. That's 8 miles.
Mm-hmm.
That's where... But that green dot
it's not.
is where Elijah says is 16 miles. If it's 16 miles, that is not where that bridge would be, nor could that green light be there.
No, you've nailed it. You've nailed it completely, and I agree, and I'll tell you for why. Because between the left-hand side of the building and the right-hand side of the second building is a distance of 3 miles. So and the line of sight would start at 18. So that would take it from 18 to 15. 15 down to 12, which would be halfway across. So that blue light is the center, you're correct, but it's also in the same location that Elijah says, for sure. I mean, let me take a screenshot of that particular, and I'll show you exactly what I mean by this. Maybe you should watch this on the watch page. I don't want to share my screen again, because the last time I did this...
Jack, you ready to go? Jack, we'll go. We want to play here for about an hour or two?
Right, so the last time I did this, it crashed my PC, so I'm just going to... So you'll have to...
We got a heated debate here on live.
Yeah, from the watch page, yeah. Right,
so live on the watch page, so here we go. So line of sight, which I measured before between these two buildings, from this point here to that point there, I'll do it in, say, white so that we can see this. It stretches across 3 miles of bridge, but it stretches over 3 miles of bridge from a distance of, well, from the center, it was from 17 miles or so. So to take that across from the center there, this is a 3 mile stretch of bridge along here from 17 miles. We're going back to 14 miles now. So that is 14 miles. That's a 14 mile marker right there. Yeah? And then if we take the same measurement again from point A to point B as just as a guide, it's not entirely correct. And then we apply that further on. What we're looking at is, so that would be from 17, that would be down to 14, 14 down to about 11. So it's between 11 and 12 miles. Is that right? Is the bridge at is that marker about 12 miles down across the bridge?
Which one, the green?
The green marker, is it about 12 miles across the bridge?
I think it's 8 miles from the beginning of the bridge.
The center marker, the green one.
Yeah, I'm not sure. They've said it's 8 miles, but I don't know if that 8 miles.
Well, if it's a center marker, then it would be right on 10 miles because again, there's 2 markers and the bridge is a total of 20 miles.
Yeah.
So you have one at 8 and you have one at 16. There is no 10-mile marker midpoint. There's only two options, is what I'm saying.
Okay, so it's closer to. So the two markers are what? Sorry, between which markers?
I can't see.
There's only an 8-mile marker and a 16-mile marker. So it has to be either the 8-mile marker that we're looking at and the 16-mile marker, or only the 16-mile marker. It's all the way to the right.
It's 50-50. It's more or less likely. Hang on, let me just get this right. As you go further, so that angle's going to be quite narrow for 3 miles. As it expands, yeah, that's going to be the 16-mile marker then, I would think.
How do I get...
Possibly.
But even still, even if I gave him the 8-mile marker at an observer height of 6 feet, the horizon should be at 3 miles away, and you're seeing something from 8 miles away. Actually, you're seeing things from all the way to the other side of the bridge, which is 20 miles away.
No, we're not seeing. I told you, we're not seeing all the way. We're seeing just past the 8-mile marker, which is probably 10, 12 miles.
No, you're seeing the cars in front of the buildings.
Yeah, but they're not.
So you're seeing the car in front of the biggest building. That's at least.
Remember, 16 miles. He already said the line of sight was 16 miles from those coordinates.
But what I'm trying to say, I think you interrupting is stopping my point from clearly coming across. What I'm saying is the tallest bridge to the left, you can see the cars traveling in front of there. That is like that's nearly the end of the bridge. Nearly. So we're seeing that all the way at 18 miles, 17 miles. Even if I give you that, you're only at an observer height of 6 feet. Why are you seeing it when the horizon should be 3 miles away? You're looking at a horizon that is beyond 18 miles away.
Yeah.
Are you going to?
Are you screen sharing? I can't see the screen.
In these two images, in this particular image, it is so difficult because firstly, you have buildings that clearly have more hidden than what the bridge should hide at that distance. Because I'm going to say that the bridge height is about so high if you watch on the watch page, so it's going to be about there. However, we are also seeing the cars cross across the bridge, so it's one of them. I mean, it could be sinking. You've heard of looming, and obviously you've got sinking. I mean, who's to say that it's not sinking? Not that I agree with that as well. It's just another option. But there's also the idea that we are seeing these cars. We're seeing the cars at 17 miles, and we're seeing missing.
Pause, guys. I can't see your screen. Do you have anything on the screen, Ranty, or no?
It's on the watch page. So
how do I get to? We can't hear it. Only they can see it.
I don't know how we. I don't know how we get into this image. To be honest, because you're both right. There's more of the building missing than that bridge could possibly hide at that distance. There's more of those buildings missing. However, we're also seeing the cars cross the damn bridge.
No, you're not. But look at it.
Let me propose something to you as well, Ranty. At 6 foot elevation, you're going to have a very narrow angle of view along that distance. On top of that, if you think about if you put your thumb in front of the moon, you can pretty much hide the moon. So that point that we're looking at on the bridge to the building is literally 4 miles away. Where that, remember that building that's technically quote unquote missing? That's about 200 feet high, something like that. 194 feet high or something like that, or something. So when you think about that, and you think about him being 6 feet, if you were to zoom into something like a thumb, or in this case, the bridge, it would obstruct more than how big the bridge actually is. You wouldn't be working in terms of real numbers.
It is a simple trigonometric function. I explained to you last time. And for example, at 20 miles, the extra 4 miles would be 6 feet more. That's it. 6 feet more shadow than that bridge actually has.
But you're not including, but what you're looking at is not a. Hold on. Hold on.
Knowledge before you're wasting my time if you're not listening. I'm telling you that would be 6 more feet at 20 miles. Now I can calculate it again at 16.
Everything you just said, I'll do everything. I don't want to hear it.
I can calculate 16. just because you have you're enamored with angles. I like great interest.
Nice.
You're not you're using intuition to do trigonometry, and that doesn't always work because you're so far away from. Hold on. Because you're so far away from 16 miles, the shadow it would leave on the building another 8 miles away is not as big as you think.
What are you looking at?
You gotta
What
keep
shadow?
on talking. You can't even let me finish a sentence.
Right.
The shadow from 16 miles to 24 miles is not as big as you think. It might be 30 feet, it might be 40 feet, but it's not 100 feet, it's not 200 feet, okay?
Okay.
Can I respond? Because I've been trying to respond.
Have you looked into the image for compression? Because I'm looking at the image now, and it's clear that the lower part of that building is being severely compressed. If you measure the window heights, I mean, I've just taken a window spot, and
yes.
As I go lower down and I check it against the windows at the bottom, you can see that the half the height. So it's quite possible that this is a compressed image that's just giving a false reading.
On the big building?
On top of that,
the big building.
What I'm saying is,
can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm asking a question. I just asked. He spoke, and the audience now is asking, maybe quick one-word questions. Are you talking about the big building having some compression?
Yeah, it's possible that could have a bit of compression going on for sure.
Can you see my screen?
Let me put you back on. Go ahead.
So yes, there is compression going on. That's a real phenomenon. It's due to refraction. We're going over an entire lake here, over 24 miles. So yes, there is some refractive effects, and compression is definitely one of them. It's manifests itself in those lower windows that are exactly the same height as the pier, which again is 20 feet. So you can see actually the imprint of the shadow, which is interesting about how much it actually takes up on the building. It looks like maybe 2 floors. Exactly what we think it would be taking up for. But however, half the building is missing. So it doesn't get compressed into nothing. It slowly compresses when you get near the water and gives you some distortion as it gets to the water line.
Okay, but one thing I would say is if the cars are being so if the building's being compressed and we're seeing it's just perfect, that's refraction, that's just what we're seeing. But so everything in those buildings is correct. Then why is the cars being refracted up and not the entire building? Because by I think Elijah's calculations, there should be at least 100 feet of blockage between his observer height of 6 feet and those cars at 17, 18 miles away. But yet we're seeing the cars in the video, and yet the building in the background isn't moving. Surely if there was some refraction going on with something hidden behind the curve, it would also bring back more of that building. It can't just be selective and just decide to move the cars. It would also want to move the buildings as well, surely.
Well, you have so the compression effect is right at the water line. You have the major refraction, if there was refraction, which is I don't think happening here, where you're looming something up or sinking. It's very unusual to have sinking in a situation, and we have. If I don't believe there's any looming going on with the cars. I believe that you're seeing the headlights because they're so bright as they're coming on, and depending on the exposure of that camera, we're seeing the light illuminating the air around it because it is pretty far away. So we're not seeing the cars. We're seeing the light of the headlights, which is probably above the cars themselves.
194 feet below hidden?
I'm already telling you we're not seeing the cars at 195. We're seeing the cars at...
You're seeing the lights from 194 feet behind the curve.
What's the drop? First of all, they're 20 to 30 feet above the water because they're on the bridge, right? So how much...
Yeah, I did those calculations already. 24 feet, 25 feet, 20 miles away.
Oh, don't do 20 miles.
That's what you have.
Do 8 miles away, do 10 miles away,
okay,
do 12 miles.
I have a question for Zanick here. So if there's 190 feet, let's say, of missing for those cars, how much of the building is missing on a geometric level?
At 24 miles, about 150 feet.
So there's 150 feet of the buildings missing, and you think, and obviously there's the cars that are going over, let's say 100 feet. Let's say it's 100 feet. I haven't worked it out yet, but let's just say 100 feet of the cars, and there's 150 feet should be missing to the building. So why aren't we seeing down to 50 feet of the building? Why isn't the lights from the building being refracted up the same as the headlights on the car?
Well, the headlights on the car are not being refracted up. They're just shining up. You're seeing the illumination.
So why are we seeing the illumination from the buildings that are also behind the curve?
They're not 500 watt, 300 watt focus beams that are shining toward us. If there were spotlights on the building pointing outward, and you were above the building, and the building was obscured, like the tennis court is a great example, I would be willing to bet that tennis court is several floors, but it's 40 to 50 feet below the eye line there.
Okay, so I'm looking at the image on screen now, and to be honest, the car headlights and the building lights, they're almost identical. There can be no discernible difference between the two. But if the lights from the car is being lifted up so that you can see them, why is the rest of the lights from the building behind that also not being lifted up?
Yeah, it's just in the spot it should be.
They're below. They're below it. They're below the road. You see the light. You're seeing the lights head on, and any lights you're seeing can be lifted up.
No, the lights can't be below the road. You know why? Because the road is 25 foot high and the building is 200 feet high. That's impossible. They can't be below the road. They're above the road.
You're missing the point.
I'm not missing the point. I'm directly answering what you just said.
So the cars are traveling on the road. It's below. You can't see the cars on the highway. It's got sidewalk. If you're 6 feet high. You can't. No, you cannot see the cars because they're blocked by garters. You think the cars are just on some road that you can just drive off the road and fly into the ocean or into the lake? No,
you see them during the day when he films.
They have high barriers on the side, which are higher than the car, by the way. Definitely higher than the headlights. It's flat as a pancake. Right, but we still see the lights. Why is that? Because the light.
All I've ever asserted is because the car line on that bridge is directly traveling all the way across, and it's cutting off everything in the view. That's all I've ever said.
I'm just curious. So yes, the cars are traveling along the road there. I believe that 8 mile mark. So isn't it interesting where you can't see the cars over the bridge, but you see the cars on either side of the bridge?
But we know that that's where they are because it's the same elevation, pretty much. We know where they are, even though we can't see them anymore because they're getting further away from the observer, about 4 miles to be exact.
Again, 100% missed the point again. No, I'm saying that the cars are missing the point. You don't listen. All you do is talk, and so how can you miss the point? How can you even get the point? You're always talking.
I just addressed you. I'm talking all the way to the left of the image. That is where the end of the bridge is.
I'm getting bored of this really fast, and I'm sure everyone else is too.
Goodbye.
We got the lights approaching the bridge, and then it disappears as it goes over the bridge. And by the way, it'd be nice.
Coming towards you. I'm talking about them going the other way.
Can I finish a flippant sentence? So the bridge is obscuring because it has higher barriers along the bridge. That's how the bridges look. And when the bridges hide the car, you can't see the light because it goes up well above. Those bridges look flat. They're not flat, but it looks that way because of the actual, whatever going refraction or some distortion of the light. That's happening. That's a real thing. I would time the distance it takes, or the time it takes for the cars to go from one side of the bridge to the other side before you see the headlights, and maybe see if that's an indication of any kind of
back to time in the cars again.
See if an indication of the this speeding up or slowing down of the video. That'd be a good indication of that, because we know the bridges are a certain length. We probably can actually measure that. So, Randy, if you want to do that, that'd be kind of nice to see if we can validate whether this film has been sped up. If it hasn't, then you're completely wrong, and this is a closer section to me, as Randy mentioned earlier. Well, if it is sped up, then
am I allowed to at some point add something in here, or are you going to keep monologuing? Because
Elijah, go ahead. Please, Zanick, let Elijah speak, please.
Okay.
I don't remember him answering me telling him that the horizon is 18 plus miles away for sure, when it's supposed to be 3 miles away. What is that about?
I never said that. I never agree with you or never even thought about that.
I said that. I said that.
You said what?
I'm saying that observer height, 6 feet, maximum distance to the horizon at that height is what? 2.99 miles. but we're looking well beyond that to a horizon that's obviously beyond those buildings, which is 24 miles away.
And the cars you're seeing move. I don't believe
cars and not the
buildings. So any cars move.
8 miles.
I don't believe you're seeing any cars move past the 16-mile mark.
So you're saying they're being refracted 194 feet, the light, anyway, not the.
They're shining upward. You're seeing a dispersion of the light into the atmosphere, which you're detecting. I have a picture on the chat. I've shared my screen, and you can see. Oh, that's not it. Why did I go to that one?
Right, I've got the video ready to play. If you guys want me to just, are you sharing your screen first? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, go ahead.
Go ahead. So this is both pictures tied together, so you can see them both. I got the building, Of course, there is some flattening happening due to refraction. So we know this is a heavily refracted evening, right? We all agree that there's some flattening going on here? Because look at the picture on the top. Which
they're not the same distance. You're trying to make it the same distance by saying there's some flattening going on in the photo.
From the same spot. Soundly posted that video in his favorite spot, and he had the helicopter. He said, let me finish. You can debate that later.
Because what he Ranty, remember that spot that you were talking about at the first place, right next to the bridge? Soundly confirmed that is where he's standing in the top photo. That's why I'm saying you can't compare those pictures, because he, in that top photo, soundly confirmed that he is closer to the bridge, where you suggested, Ranty.
Okay, so listen, if you want me to make a ruling here in some way, or try and judge this as best I can.
Agree with you. By the way, hold on one second. I agree with you, Elijah. I think he is probably closer. It looks closer to me.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at the basic angles. The angles of that bridge and the road going to those buildings looks slightly different, but it's not dramatically different. But go ahead, Randy.
So if I'm going to make a judgment here, I believe wholeheartedly that you cannot have the conclusion of this video where he's showing these cars going over the bridge, and the building behind it being sunk by so much. You can't have both of these in the same image if he was at that location. It's an impossibility, because this is a flat earth proof with those headlights on the cars, and this is a globe earth proof with the building seriously being hidden by the bridge and whatever's beneath it, even if it's a horizon. So I genuinely believe that he's misplaced his location point. I cannot for the life of me think that he took it from the spot that he claims on this video. If he did, it would be the most unusual result to get this type of result. Having the cars on the horizon and having the sunken building behind it, it's impossible, because those cars are at 18 miles and are just 5 miles behind that. Sorry, 7 miles behind that or something is those buildings, and yet none of that is being loomed up either. It's only affecting the cars. I can't see that being a possibility. He has to be, in my opinion, much nearer to the bridge, much nearer to where I actually said originally, where he's done most of his observations from, which is right next to the causeway. That would probably place his direct line of sight around about between 5 and 6 miles away to those cars, which would make sense. But it would also put the height of the bridge, which is about 20 feet, and his observer height of 6 feet, it would mean that he's looking up to the bridge, which would be a physical wall between him and those buildings in the distance. So that way, it would account for everything. He would be looking into a wall, having to look over it. He would also see the cars and the headlights at 6 miles away, but he would also have obstruction of the bridge, which would block off those buildings at the bottom. And that's the only way that I can think that he's getting this result, because...
But Randy, the bridges cannot block that much of the building, because we already did the trig on that.
Well, it all depends how close he was to the bridge.
Doesn't matter.
Can I just round up? If he's at 6 feet, if he's at 6 feet observation height, and this bridge is 20 feet, and let's say was intersecting these cars at 5 miles away, then that would be 5 times the discrepancy. So that would be 5 times 14 feet, which would be 50, 60, 70 feet. It would obscure 70 feet of the building if these cars are at 5 miles away. Now, it all depends how close he is to the building. But
wait a minute, hold on. We all know that nothing anywhere near 5 miles is blocking the buildings, the road. The road intersects at either, you said 16 miles, or I'm saying it's probably a little bit earlier because I think it's more of an angle. I think it's a different position also, Randy, if you want to know the truth of it. But if we do,
it can only be 2, 16 or 8. It can't be anything else.
No, I think I agree with Randy. I think he is closer in my. If you share my screen, I've already shared.
This is why I'm saying with your shared screen, that bridge that you're looking at is at the 8-mile mark, which you agree with.
Elijah, I'm trying to have an intelligent conversation with somebody. The adults are talking. Please.
He's trying to rope-a-dope you.
Little kid, stop
Randy.
it. Stop it.
yeah, I'm aware.
I agree with you, that the picture on the upper picture I showed, I think that's this vertical picture where he has with the drone, is much closer to the bridge, as you said. Now, the intersections will be also very different, but the bottom picture at night, you can see the angle seems to be much more gradual to the bridge, and I think that'd make the cars that we're seeing, the lights, much more easier to be seen because they actually are going to be closer to us, given that the 8-mile point is the green light. I think the 8-mile, however you slice it, the green light is the 8-mile point. I think you would agree. It's not the 16-mile point at all. There's no way it possibly can be geometrically in this observation.
Well, if it is, then you have no globe proof because that's what's blocking the buildings that you're saying is going to Earth curve.
So again, the blocking of the building at 20 miles, if it's 4 miles further, it would only be 6 feet above the...
No, you're talking about the obstruction being the bridge at 8 miles. We're not talking about 20 miles anymore. In your example, it's 8 miles blocking the view.
There's nothing blocking the building at 8 miles. Nothing. We all can agree. The bridge...
You're talking out 2 sides of your mouth.
Let me finish. The bridge is on the far right. Far right. It's not blocking anything. And that's 8 miles away. We're talking, and the bridge we know goes toward the building. So everything.
It is blocked. He's still below.
For fuck's sake! For everything past the green light is closer to the buildings, i.e., further away from us. So the further away it goes, the less it can obscure. Its shadow on the building will be less. We all can agree, can we not?
I disagree.
Then you don't understand basic
I disagree
math.
because you know what? Because you know.
Again, this is how we usually end our discussions. You don't understand math, and you disagree, and then I can't fight that. How do you fight
moderation. If someone says they have a disagreement with a claim, they should be able to explain why, not be treated like this.
I told you, if it's 8 miles
I don't
away,
give a shit what you're telling me. I heard what you told me, and I would like to rebuttal.
You can't disagree because it's basic math. This is a proof. We have a proof here. All right?
Randy, you tell me if you agree with him or not.
8 miles away and to the right, it is not blocking the buildings. That is known. And as you go closer to the building, you are going further away, i.e., whatever that road is blocking 20 feet high will
zooming into the bridge is still going to be 20 feet. It's still going to be above you. Your vision at 6 feet.
Don't tell me.
No matter how you zoom in,
forget it.
It's always going to be that high. You can zoom in 30 miles if the bridge was 30 miles, but at 6 feet, you would still be zooming into a 20 elevated high bridge. There's no way around that.
It doesn't change the angular size. You can zoom into the heart's content. It always will be 0.11.
Me just told you. I don't know how that has anything.
0.11 degrees. It will never change. Even when you zoom in, the angular size does not change. The apparent size in your viewfinder changes, but the angular size will not change.
If you zoom in on something, if you zoom in on anything, if you had a trophy in your house and you zoomed in on it, guess what? It would take up more of the frame. What the fuck are you talking about?
No, it wouldn't.
Well, all I've got to say, guy, all I have to say is that this image, in my opinion, cannot happen on either model. You can't have it on a globe model because you're seeing the car lights being loomed up so that you can see them on the horizon, but they're not. But wait a minute, but they're not affecting the building behind. The building behind isn't being affected, but just the car lights are. So that can't be lumen of the car lights. It can't be. You have to be physically looking at those car lights, and you can't have those car lights seen in your model on the globe model from his location. You can't have it because it would be behind Earth curve. The only way you're going to get this is if he was much closer to the bridge, and you're actually seeing the physical bridge is the obstruction for the building behind, and the headlights are the cars on the bridge in the foreground.
How much of the building should be missing at 24 miles?
How much?
Does anybody know? How much of the building should be missing at 24 hours? 24 miles.
Let me have a quick look. What we're looking for, geometric or?
Geometric. Let's keep things without refraction. Yeah.
Okay. So,
but as we know that has nothing to do with angular size. You're not going to be looking at a physical 400-foot building anymore.
Right. Geometric, 300 feet.
So 300 feet should be missing, right? How tall is the building?
I don't know what building is it.
The biggest building that we're looking at there, or even the shorter building that's almost missing. What's the shortest building?
Is it Lakeview 1, is it, or something? Is it Lakeview 1?
I don't know. Elijah?
I'm sorry, what?
What is the height of Lakeview 1? Is that the shorter building of the two?
Yes. It's the second shortest, yeah.
The third shortest is actually completely hidden, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what is the shortest building?
Actually, I'm not sure, because where it looks like you can see a compressed version of some of the building also happens to be where the cars are traveling through that line. So I don't know if there's compression because the cars are constantly traveling across that point.
I might give you a clue if you could let me speak about this. So if you know there's wild refraction going on and flattening. We know it's flattening because I have the two pictures showing the bridge, which doesn't change at night. You know, this thing doesn't lay over and go to bed and put a blanket over itself. It's a big arc. It's probably about 50 or 60 feet high. And now on your picture, the green light is flat. Flat and it's equal to the lights of the cars. Isn't that interesting? So the other thing, what I propose.
Okay. Why is it interesting?
This would be my closing statement, that there is some looming going on here. There is a lot of refraction going on, because you wouldn't have the buildings being stretched out as much as they are due to the fact that atmospheric conditions are dictating that. And so that would explain that maybe all that building should be missing, and it is being loomed up to the point where you're seeing the cars as well as the building, where you shouldn't see the building. If there's 300 feet supposed to be missing, why are we seeing that building? Because it's been loomed up due to refraction, and that's it. And you know, and Randy's right. There's just not enough information here. We got, again, a situation with crappy pictures, inconclusive evidence, even positions of the observer that we don't really know for sure, and we can't corroborate anything because we don't have the clarity.
Wash. You're saying, well, it can't be a globe, it can't be flat, but what we know is it's most likely a globe. Moving on. Mm-hmm.
Elijah, 300 feet of that building are missing.
But also, we're seeing the car lights on the bridge.
Yes, because they've been loomed up.
So why have the lights on the building haven't? Why have the building lights haven't?
They have.
Where?
That building should be gone, Ranty. That building's, you can see it. It should be 100 feet under the ground. Why are you seeing the building?
Because it's flat.
No.
Yes, because it's flat and there's a bridge. There's just a bridge in the way. There's a bridge in the way. That's it. That's all there is. There's just a bridge in the way. That's all it is. It's a flat plane and there's just a bridge in the way.
Ranty. How much shadow would a bridge, I mean shadow, not like physical shadow, and what would be the imprint of the bridge on the building if the bridge is 16 miles away and 20 feet high? How much bridge should be missing? How much would that bridge obscure? Because that is the new horizon, my friend.
Yeah, but
that bridge is considered a horizon.
It's my contention. Listen, it's my contention that you can't get this image from a wider viewing location. You have to be closer to the bridge. And in order to get that, what the effect would be is that it's the bridge that's hiding the building and nothing else. You can't have the lights being loomed up as the.
It doesn't. Wash, your math doesn't work because you got to. It's very simple trig, by the way. Very simple. 20 miles at 16 miles. 20 feet at 16 miles. Do the trig on it. You'll get an angular size of about 0.2 degrees. And 0.2 degrees at 24 miles.
Playing two positions. We're not. You said it's 8 miles. Why are you doing trick for 16 miles?
Elijah, I'm talking to
Switch
Randy. You
positions.
clearly know I'm talking to him. I hear
Randy,
myself.
come on, man.
Randy, all you have to do is do simple math. Do 0.22
8 or
degrees.
16.
Again, you can't stop talking. 0.22
Is
degrees.
it 8 or 16?
Stop it.
Answer
Elijah.
first.
Elijah.
Oh, so let him double speak then.
Elijah. 0.22 degrees at 16 miles. What's the angular imprint of 0.2 degrees at 24 miles? And that'll be your answer, Ranty.
Yeah,
it can't be any more than that because math doesn't lie.
Okay, but you're taking me to 16 miles, and all I'm saying is you can't have this image on either model. The only thing you can get this if it's just a physical obstruction, and the only way you're going to get is by putting him closer to the bridge. This is the actual bridge that's just in the way. There's the headlights of the car at about 5 miles away, which would, give you 70 feet of physical obstruction of the building.
Wait, no, what's 5 miles away?
If those cars are intersecting your line of sight at 5 miles away, then
which it isn't.
If they were.
Okay.
Now I haven't got my Google Earth because it's not working. It crashed before the PC. I had to restart the stream.
Right.
And Google Earth won't open up again. But I think there was an image in there at some point where you showed a tower. If you could send me that image with the tower in next to his logo, to his watermark, I could probably go ahead and review this tomorrow. But
yes, I got that. Yes.
Is that from this video? Video?
Yes. That's a great idea. That might solve all the problems.
Yeah. So is that from this video?
It's in my lower picture. It's I don't know the timestamp because I found out where you can see the green dot. And all you got to do is go on the Google map, or go on your little Google map, find that tower, find that radio tower, and see if it's on the right side of the actual bridge. If it is, that's the 8 mile mark, and the case is closed. If it isn't, and it's on the observer side of the 16-mile bridge, then Elijah wins. That I would accept.
Okay, so I'm looking for the image, and you haven't put it in the side chat right now. So could you post that image for me, and I can do a bit of work on this tomorrow. But as I say, I just don't think that this image can be produced on either a flat or a globe. It has to just be a misplacement of where he says he's taken his observation from, and he's much closer to the bridge than he says. And in that case, you'd just get everything. In fact,
I think you don't.
Hang on, wait. You see that bridge with no obstruction? Send me that image right now. The top one.
Which bridge?
The top right image that you just had up.
I'm sorry. Is this something I'm... That one?
No. Go back to your other images. This will explain it right now. It's dead easy. Yeah, that top image, top right. Yeah, send that in the chat. Yeah, this is it. This is just explains it right now. Piece of piss. You can see it. He's on the other side of the bridge, and all you do is you just swap that bridge over, and you've got it. You've got the cars going over the bridge, and you've got your obstruction.
So basically, so we can say this is a positive for me because with Soundly's own video, I've debunked his claim of curvature being gone because all I've said, whether it's 16 miles away, whether it's closer, the bridge is blocking what is essentially that building.
Yeah, send me this.
That's my main point.
Send me this image if you can. Send me this image.
Wait a minute. How do you guys claim? How do you claim victory over this?
It's all right. I've taken a print screen of the image. It's fine. It's okay.
What are you saying?
Well,
what I said, me or Ranty?
Nothing is blocking the building.
Ranty.
Nothing is blocking the building in this video.
Ranty, who do you want to answer you?
He told me. He said he found. I gave him the picture. We're talking about it. So the pier is blocking as much as we see, about 50 or 20, 30, 40 feet of the building at 8 miles, as we would think it would, and we see a tower before the bridge, right? This is the 8 mile bridge, by the way, Ranty.
Okay.
Do you get that?
Just 1 second. So
is that what you were saying? You're saying this is the 8 mile bridge, and you now confirm it?
No, it's not an 8 mile bridge. This is still a 20 mile bridge. The bridge is 20 miles.
You're saying he zoomed in to see this picture at 20 miles?
What other bridge is there other than the causeway? There's only one causeway.
How do you not? God, you guys are getting dumber by the minute.
Because if you look on Google, there's only one causeway in Lake Pontchartrain. What are you talking about?
How do you see the 16-mile bridge if you don't see the 8-mile bridge, which is before it? Did it just evaporate, or are we seeing over it?
I think you're asking. My bad. I think you're talking about the same bridge, just a different portion of it.
No, we're seeing the pier that comes out and has the red light. That is the guidance light for ships to go under the 8-mile bridge.
Just trying to get a little clarity, Zanick. Relax. Are you talking?
That is the entrance. That is the entrance pier.
There's only one brick causeway. That causeway is 20 miles total from one side to the other side.
You are completely missing the mark here, Elijah. I gotta just tell you. This is the entrance to the bridge. This is not the bridge to the building. This is the entrance to the bridge. The white light's there, the red light, that is closest to us as a guide harbor, a guide pier. Those are guidance piers. The green light is between that red light and another light on the other side, which is going to be a green light, by the way, because that's how ships navigate. All right? So that is the 8-mile bridge. It's not the friggin' 16-mile bridge, because if it was a 16-mile bridge, we would see the 8-mile bridge in fucking front of it. This is getting ridiculous. It's like, friggin' who's on first?
It's not. It's the part of the bridge that goes up and lets the.
It's not part of the bridge.
It's a separate bridge.
It's a pier. It's a pier with a red light on it. You know what that red light is for? That red
pier is not a bridge.
They don't fucking hit it.
Bridge.
That's not the bridge.
A pier is not an extra bridge. That's why I'm asking for clarity, and you're fucking skitzing out on me.
Because we went over this an hour ago, and this is going on for an hour and a half.
I understand it.
Sense is a box of rocks.
Do you understand?
The bridge is straight, Elijah. That is a pier coming out. Has a red light on it for navigation for boats, so they don't fucking hit it. And they go between that red light and a green light.
I disagree.
Unbelievable.
Okay, have we got anything else to talk about other than this one particular observation until we get a little bit more information tomorrow?
No, you said that made total sense, and you so that's it. Do you now agree that is the 8-mile entrance?
No, we're closing it out because you're skitzing out and we're moving on.
But that was the bridge. That's not the bridge. The pier.
Moving on, and figure it out at another date. Now is not the time. If we had anything else, I do.
Well, no. He said he got it. Made sense when he saw this picture. I put it on screen. He copied it. Does he not agree that is the 8-mile bridge?
Well, I asked him. I said, Ranty, do you understand?
Are you still there?
Let's move on.
Ranty, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. So yeah,
is that the 8-mile?
That looks like it could well be the 8-mile bridge, yeah, because you have another one of those past that. So that looks to be the first one.
Well, it couldn't be the first one because you'd have to see through the 8-mile bridge because it would be in front of it.
Well, it all depends. He could be looking over the first one, and he's
look how close those pylons are on the left.
That's true.
Over something.
That's true. I'm not dissing you here. I'm sort of trying to agree with you that I think that is the 8-mile one.
It seemed. I guess apologize to both of you, even you, Elijah. I am getting riled up because it seems so painfully obvious to me, and nothing you've told me at this point has made me see otherwise. And you keep
you called it a bridge. It's just a marine.
It's a pier. I told you it's a pier.
You called it a bridge. When you said it's a pier, I said okay, whatever.
All right, whatever. Fine. When you interrupt people, we can't get our thoughts across. People go crazy. That's the net result of that kind of.
I interrupted you to ask. Sorry, I interrupted you to ask you for clarity. That's the only reason I interrupted, and you called me retarded. Well, you said I didn't understand, and blah blah blah, hippity hoopla. And I was just saying, why are you saying there's two bridges? Because there's only one.
I didn't think there's any need to explain. We went over this picture many times yesterday and day before that. So
just speaking for purposes, that's all that was in it. Relax.
All right.
Maybe you can agree that that's in this photo, the 8-mile mark, but I didn't know what you were trying to say. I have no idea because I don't know the observer height.
Well,
first of all.
So to Ranty's point, and that's why this picture is so good, is that now you see a pier, which is much lower, maybe 10 feet versus the 20 feet of the bridge, and look how much it's obscuring at 8 miles of the building behind it. And what's good about this is that, it's great about this, it doesn't go all the way out past the red light. The red light is the end. So you see that it only obscures about 30 to 40 feet of that bridge in the distance, 40 feet or 50, maybe 45 feet. Who knows?
Yeah, I would
know it's stopped.
to give this to you if I knew the observer height.
So it's not the bridge that's hiding the building. It's not the pier that's hiding the building in this picture. It's just the curve, or the building's sinking, or it's a sinking refraction, which is pretty unlikely. But there's our data.
There was a question from Brian's Logic who asks, why would sinking be, if looming happens every day and etc., why would sinking be not as prevalent?
Because you have to have a very, very warm water and a very cold air.
Is that refraction on that 8 mile bridge?
That would be refraction. So it would sink. See, that'd be pretty dramatic.
No, just say yes or no, God, because I have a point to make.
Is the refraction added on what?
That bridge, or do you, whatever, that pier, do you just see it at 8 miles?
It could be refracted upward, sure.
Okay. Except we don't know because we don't know the observer height, right?
We don't know the observer height. We don't know the conditions. We don't know a lot of things about this picture.
That's what I said earlier. Anyway, I posted another picture trying to move on.
That's 8 miles away, and 20 feet could be missing of that pier. We don't know.
Okay, that's nice. Trying to move on. I posted a picture in the chat.
Where's the chat at? I can't. For some reason, you can't see it, or nothing showing.
Yeah, if you go onto your Skype.
I just see your smiling face there, Randy.
Yeah, you see those. Yeah, I see. You see at the bottom, next to the screen share there. Open conversation. There you go.
Oh, there we go. Oh, those pictures. Okay. What picture is that? Looks like LA.
That is LA.
Okay.
Now, I'm wondering how long that highway or freeway is, because there's absolutely no curvature on it. Looks pretty flat, the whole image.
Why would you see curvature at, looks like about 10,000 feet?
Because we're looking at one thing and it's not curving. It looks pretty straight to me from that perspective. What do you mean? Why wouldn't? Nothing is curving, but you're saying that the image we were just looking at from 8 miles away started to curve, but nothing's curving in this photo.
Oh my God. Are we really going to have this conversation, Elijah? Do you want to have it seriously? Because I'll have it with you if you'd like.
Well, what's your rebuttal?
Okay. So do you understand how curvature works?
I understand in your model how curvature works geometrically. This doesn't follow.
It absolutely does follow. If you were to get a theodolite and actually look at level, the level line would be above those mountains in the far. I think this is looking toward UCLA, toward I think the valley, like maybe Glendale and.
No, but I was talking about that freeway and how it looks pretty flat all the way through, and I was just wondering how long that was so that I could go on Earth.
It looks flat, so therefore it is flat. The curvature is so incredibly slight. We're talking about a 1 degree horizon change downward from that mountain. So basically, if I had a level of theodolite at this altitude, it would be even to those mountains way in the distance. Way in the distance. That's where the level line would be. The horizon would be 1 degree below that. So it's almost impossible to see curvature that's going away from you. All you can see is the effects of the curvature, which would be the horizon that would be dropping. Left to right, no chance at all at this height. You can't see curvature left to right because that's a circle around you. That's a whole different equation. You're talking about 10.
We don't see curvature at all. We just see a horizon in the distance. There's no curvature in this photo.
Why should there? Again, you can't see the curvature because you are too low to see it.
So we're too low to see it and too high to see it. Because earlier you said, why would you see the curvature at 10,000 feet? Essentially saying that we're too high, but now we're too low to see the curvature as well. That's interesting.
No, I didn't say that. You're too low to see the curvature.
But you also said at 10,000 feet, why would you see the curvature? Why would you say that?
Because it's still too low. Why do you're only seeing a 1 degree horizon drop? That's it. It's very subtle.
I'm okay. I'm not.
This is like trying to
In this
like
instance. In this instance,
a kindergartner. I mean, seriously.
In this instance, I'm not talking. Now, notice I haven't ad hommed him once, and he continues to do that. I don't understand.
So you know you don't understand. You know you don't know the math. You study the math. You're asking me questions, and you're challenging me at the same time. So it's a little bit frustrating, Elijah. Pardon me for getting upset.
Even though he's my dear friend, this is what Globers do. They want to stop you from making.
And I argue with my family like this too. So it's just me and my family. We're used to it.
But at the end of the day, I'm cool with Zanick. I like him. I don't care what anybody.
Right back at you, Elijah. Just we frustrate each other. I get it. I mean, I know I'm not the easiest guy to deal with, though. But I mean, I'm on a mission here because it's something I am confident about and have knowledge about. And your intuition is good. It actually, your question, you're making all the right questions. It just, when you ask me to look at a picture like this and you tell me that, why don't I see the curve? My head just wants to explode because there's so many reasons why you don't have the ability to see the curve. And you think there should be curve? I think you're doing that to challenge me, and you're rightfully doing that, but the answer is complicated. But I can just summarize it by, there's just not enough curvature to see. Because nothing's being hidden. But it is a great picture.
Okay, so is there anything else for you guys to get stuck into, or is that just what you wanted to address on this particular stream?
Hey, Randy, I think you did a great job. I don't even know which side of the coin you're on. You did such a great job on this, so I really appreciate you kind of moderating and asking the questions. And for seeing it the first time, you absorbed it pretty quickly. And thanks for doing all the Google Maps. That's always tricky for me to do, and I get so many things clicking, and I always end up moving things. I can't keep things straight. You did a good job there too, so appreciate the help there. I think we have some homework to do to kind of clear up some of the things we don't have, that we don't know for sure, and then we'll maybe be able to bring more information back and chat about it again, or do it amongst ourselves later.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I would say excellent moderating skills. Even though I wanted you to take my side and mute Zanick or shut Zanick up, you didn't do that, and you know what? I respect that a little more than getting my way. So for the sake of the audience, I would say that you're a good moderator.
I think you did a fantastic job. Yeah, thanks again, Randy, for spending the hour, especially after you've just been doing this 3 hours earlier with somebody else or a group of people in another chat. I appreciate the time.
All part of the service.
We'll expect your bill shortly.
But at the end of the day, guys, this is your beef that you have with each other. I'm just here to moderate between you guys. You two, Elijah called you out, wanted to have a discussion with you over it, and I could have got into a lot of different things. I could have got into the angular resolution of the buildings at that distance, etc. There wasn't even any need to go into that because essentially we don't have all the information. So. Anyway. Is there anything you want to say before you round up? Do you want to do this again sometime?
I'd like to do it again sometime. I think it's great. I think it'd be good to ask even more questions about maybe the observations, and I kind of wish we actually did the other topic, Elijah, because it had more clear information and things that we can actually, in effects that are still not fully understand by all of us.
Talking about the oil platforms.
Yeah, I think that would have been a lot more fun, and I think Randy could have put some insight in there as well. But this was good. I think we got a lot of things cleared up, and like I said, we have some homework to do. But again, appreciate the time, and I enjoyed it, and we'll look forward to do it again sometime. I had fun.
Brilliant, wonderful. Right, well, thanks very much, guys. Thanks for stopping by. I think I'll round up now. Thank you for everyone that stopped by and managed to listen to all that. I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed it. A few people, we had close to 100 watching at one point, so not too bad. So with that being said, I'll see you all in the next one.